What you think about when you're born into a fire? Let 'em burn it out. Sell 'em to the richest buyer. They wanna let the world decay. They tell us lies and fade away, fade away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. Listen up now, because we're never dropping out. Beat the odds, beat the big house. The brains are bigger than the doubt. We've been thinking for ourselves, never let the truth fade away. This is bigger than ourselves, we won't let the world burn away, burn away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. To blame, haters face the world's mistakes. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. And we feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. To blame, haters face the world's mistakes. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway.
What's up? What's up? Welcome, ladies.
Hey daddies, it's me, the Linda Binda from TikTok. I wanted to make this video because I wanted to thank you for watching Cold Beer Confessionals with Will Bird. I think that's just incredible. I've watched a few episodes and I'm just like very intrigued. But you know what I'm most intrigued in is Big Daddy's meat stick. I heard that it's very thick, like a good old German sausage. You know, Linda and her coochie loves that. Oh, never mind. Let's not go there. Anyways, I hope you have a good show and enjoy it as you can. There's a lot of weird things that go on, especially when it comes from the realm of Linda Bindaland. So, enjoy the show. Thanks for watching. Peace out.
Well, hello there. we're still not early, but we're a lot earlier than what's been going on. My sister actually come by to hang out with me. It was fun. I haven't seen her in a while. Not the one that moved to Kentucky. My other sister, she come back and hung out for a little bit. We talked. But I'm here now. Welcome everybody. I'm Will Bird. This is the Cold Beer Confessional, and we are back, baby. We are back. I'm still fucking tired from the last week I had. I didn't do a whole lot. I fought a bunch of bees, hauled off some trash, and all the junk that was in the house we redid.
_007 just resubscribed for 3 months.
Oh, thank you very much for the resubscription. I appreciate that, Narc. Thank you. I hauled off all the trash that was produced by the remodel we did on the rental house. What else? Fought some bees that had moved into a fucking behind a piece of wood that was like They moved in behind, like, okay, how do I describe this? So, like, you have, like, these are, like, rustic cabins. So they had just have, like, boards up for their siding, right? Then they'll have these 2 wide boards like this. Then they'll have a narrow board that kind of caps it. And that gives the pattern of the siding, right? So to have 2 wide boards, maybe 2 1x6s, and then they'll have a 1x2 in between them. And that leaves a gap up behind there. And most of those gaps had been covered by, like, expanding foam. But not all of them, apparently, because there's a bee's nest. So last weekend, we had somebody that was staying in the rustic cabin for their, like, an anniversary or whatever, got stung by, I don't know what kind of bee it was. It looks like a yellow jacket, but a big yellow jacket, like a huge fucking yellow jacket. It stung her, so they got mad and left. Then I'd been so busy on the house, I kind of forgot about it. And there was more people checking in today. So me and Liam were up there taking part of the cabin apart and fighting bees. I did a accidental surprise cartwheel down a hill after I ran through a picnic table and accidentally threw a hammer while getting stung by bees today. So that was fun. Liam helped me. I had him staying down away from the cabin. And Ollie decided that he wanted to stay in the car, parked at a different cabin, refused to get out, and then even yelled at us to come back to the car and roll the windows up. So there you go. Then Mariah was getting some firewood. And picked up this. Can I open this? Oh, no, that's froze. Hold on. Unfreeze. Let me close that and relaunch it. Mariah was getting some firewood while I was coming back from the dump. I had to stop and get a transit. But we got to do some grading work before the storms come next week. We've had really weird weather. I guess it's the hurricane coming through. I don't know. It's cooled down a lot. The mornings are kind of cool. Late at night's kind of cool. And the days are still pretty hot, just not like as hot as they were. They're like probably in the low 80s. But the mornings and the late at night, it's getting pretty cool, like to the point where there's like a chill in the air. Why won't this work? I guess I'm going to have to fucking email it to myself. Hold on. My program will not work. I have my phone linked to my Windows, but it's not working, I guess. Technical issue. Brad Barton. Here we go. Let me just download this video, this picture, and I'll send it to myself on Telegram or something. We're getting there. Hold on. There we go. Now we can show it off, maybe. Let's see. Yes. So Mariah was getting firewood. People can order firewood. We sell firewood, and almost grabbed a hold of this. Didn't even see it. She picked up a piece of wood, and that's a copperhead laying in the wood pile. And then she panicked, so she threw a log on it and pinched its tail until I came back and killed it. But I know it stands out like a sore thumb right here, but they're surprisingly good at blending in. So that's the second copperhead we've killed this year. But there you go. There's its. She took this picture while still alive. I usually get pictures when they're dead, but clearly you can see it's how it gets his name. It has a very copper-like head. I always think of it, the body stripes are kind of hard to see here, but the body stripes kind of look like Hershey Kisses. Like they're the shape of Hershey Kisses with like a dark brown outline. Then they can be lighter, darker. And a baby copperhead will have a yellow tipped tail. As they get older, it turns black. They'll even rattle it like they're a rattlesnake. That's just faking it. They're just faking like they're a rattlesnake. But as they get older, it turns black. But when they're real young, they'll have a yellow tip on their tail, and they use it like a lure, like you would go fishing with like a fishing lure, to lure frogs, lizards, whatever they can eat when they're little. But as they get older, it turns black. But there you go. There's a copperhead of the week, and of course, Mariah almost picked it up. So.
to go after their political opponent, but they're not doing well. I'm the only one that ever happened to where my numbers went up. What do you think about that, Mr. Congressman?
Mr. Congress, his list, somebody just sent me this. His lisp is getting bad.
My numbers went up. What do you think about that, Mr. Congressman? I don't think it's ever happened.
They're all pit vipers. They're all types of pit vipers. Apparently, I had to look this up because I've always been told they're the most venomous snake in our area. Apparently, rattlesnakes are more venomous, but a whole lot less likely to bite. Copperheads are just fucking mean. Like, they want it, like when a rattlesnake will try to run away from you until you kind of back in the quarter, a copperhead will stand its fucking ground. It's like, fuck you and anybody you bring with you. I've had them like fucking, the last one tried to strike at me while I'm driving a lawnmower around. Like, it knows it's not going to win this altercation, right? I'm setting on like 30 some horsepower of spinning blades and it's like striking at me from a rock. Like, I don't know. So even though rattlesnakes are more venomous, more people are bit and die from copperheads because they're more aggressive. So there you go. If you didn't know, now you know.
Well, my numbers went up. What do you think about that, Mr. Congressman? I don't think it's ever happened. They go after me and my numbers go up. Somebody's got to explain this. We will rebuild our cities, including Washington, D.C.
Oh, my God. Did you hear that? Did you hear that spit pop? And we are rebuilding. We are rebuilding. Listen.
We will rebuild our cities, including Washington.
And including, hey, Bosch, we are rebuilding our cities, including Washington. That pop at Washington.
Cities, including Washington, D.C., making them safe, clean, and beautiful once again. And we will keep.
To be fair, if we go through the exact same way they treated Biden, could be his cognitive disorder. Could be a cognitive disorder. Could be him breaking down. Who knows? I mean, just being honest with you, who the fuck knows? Let's try this. I need my phone app to work because I sent myself a bunch of links. So let me see if I can shut it down and open it back up. Give me just a second. What have you guys been doing? You miss me? I know you did. Everybody misses me. I'm glad to be back at, I guess, better time, a better time arrangement. I hate by the time I get settled down, do some research, get back to the computer, and it's like fucking midnight before I can start a show. But I was working I had so many fucking hours trying to get that shit done. That person is supposed to be moving this weekend, I believe. So we'll see how that works. Oh, change this to name so I can search it. Oh my God, everything's wigging out now. Okay, here we go. Is Windows, what do they call it? Phone link? Windows phone link, force stop. It doesn't seem like it's going to cooperate. That's all right. We'll figure it out a different way. I got some links to some funny stuff that I'm definitely going to show on the show, so let me forward those in an email. Yeah. Thank you guys for joining us. Thanks for bearing with us while I was starting at fucking midnight and shit. I did shoot a text or a Twitter, a tweet out to Ryan McBeth. I'm super interested to see how his ordeal where they were testing drones and possibly autonomous drones for battlefields blood delivery. I think that's super interesting. And that's kind of right up my alley, I guess, because I love flying. That one of my hobbies is FPV drones. So I would love to see what the testing is on that. He said they're not, I thought he already said they were doing the testing. He said they're not actually going out to do the official testing until, what did he say, September 5th? He tweeted back at me. So on September 5th is when they're going to do the official testing at some air base out in the middle of nowhere, I'm sure. And it's drone delivery of bags of blood, right? If you have trauma, you lose a leg, and so when you have one of these major injuries, like losing a limb or something, a lot of it has to do with how quickly you can reach a blood supply. So if they can get drones delivering a blood supply, that's going to be a game changer. Short of putting droids on the battlefield, it's going to be a pretty big deal, I think. So I'm super excited because one, if it's autonomous, that's going to be awesome. Like you hit a beacon, then someone decides to launch the drone, loads it up with blood, and it just comes to you. And two, if it's not autonomous, if it's FPV drone, could you imagine being the guy who gets to fly? I mean, it'd be like a fighter pilot, right? You get to fly an FPV drone through an active fucking war zone. That's my new dream job, right? Especially if I don't have to join the Air Force to do it. So we got a couple videos I want to watch, but hopefully Ron Macbeth, he said that they're going to do it. And I was like, hey, when you get an update, maybe we can do an interview again. Because we had one interview with him back in the day. It was on Sage's channel, but I was there. Hopefully we can do another interview where he tells us all the details about it. That'd be pretty cool. All right, check it out. Trump at the doctor.
Okay, let's do some stitches.
The stitches, I'm scared. Distract me.
Okay, what'd you do this week, Mr. President?
I had a good day. I was at the Mar-a-Lago and I went swimming and I did a lap and it was fast and I swim very fast.
When you swam, did you swim yourself or did you use your floaties?
I used the floaties and I saw a squirrel and he was nice and I fed him a classified document.
He fed the squirrel a classified document.
It up into pieces and he ate it because squirrels, they eat nuts, but this one he eats classified documents and his name is Maurice.
Maurice.
This is your Secret Service agent here?
Yes, that's Shannon. He's like my mommy.
He's your mommy?
Sometimes he calls me mommy. It's
What?
I'm scared.
They're really playing up the childish qualities of Trump, I believe.
No need to be scared because we are done.
Really? We are done. We're done. You know, that's great news. I want a lollipop, please. If I could have a lollipop.
Oh, unfortunately, I only have this.
That's so small. I need a bigger one. I need one
Oh, no.
bigger than that. I can't do. I always get bigger ones, and sometimes they give me these small ones. I don't know what they're talking about.
Secret Service has to carry lollipops around for him.
How they can give me such a small lollipop.
Oh,
Could you
Mr.
believe
President,
that?
what do we have here?
Big lollipop. I'm a brave little president.
The bravest. This is from Austin Nassau. He's the one that broke into the White House skit that we showed the other day on the show. I wanted to see where's the first Trump goes to the doctor, part 1.
Mr. President, we haven't always agreed on politics, but what you did out there today was heroic.
Ow, my ear, it hurts so badly. Ow. They had a big chance, big opportunity. They could have popped me like a watermelon, but they didn't do that, did they?
Tragedy averted, and we're gonna get you all cleaned up. Is that a maxi pad?
No.
So here comes the rubbing alcohol. This might hurt just a little bit.
I tolerate more pain than most people. Ow! Ow! Owie! You're going to the gulag. You'll never work again. Never.
Going to the gulag.
All done.
Ow.
Wasn't so bad, was it? Okay, well,
No.
we're gonna want to give you a few stitches, okay?
I don't need the face lace.
What's sad is there was no stitches involved.
Don't lace my face.
You need stitches.
Mr. President, if you get the stitches, I'll take you to Cold Stone after this and get you the birthday cake remix. How about that?
Even though it's not my birthday, they can still let me eat the birthday cake remix.
Yes, Mr. President, even though it's not your birthday.
I'll get stitches, and I always wanted stitches, by the way.
Okay, well, we're gonna agent.
I don't want a numbing. Excuse me, I don't want a numbing agent. I don't need the face vaccine. I don't need that.
It's not a vaccine, just something to take away the pain.
I don't need that at all. I love pain. Ow! He's killing me! He's killing me! Do you see this? He's killing me. He's
Haven't
killing
started.
me.
Didn't touch it. Okay, here we go.
Reach
Haven't started.
side, reach aside. They're killing a king.
You're not a king.
They're
That's
killing me.
Regis side. They're killing a king.
Mr. President, we haven't always agreed on politics.
This guy's pretty funny.
So many companies. I want to explore that. Are you one of his children? Is your name Xylophone?
He actually, one of Elon Musk's children. I think the reason Elon Musk went so anti-woke so quick is because he has a child that he signed the paperwork for treatment that is trans, right? He signed the paperwork. He was very absent in their life, apparently, according to her. All I can go off is what she says. And he tells Jordan Peterson that the woke hive mind stole his son away.
Telephone. Oh, you're sarcastic and annoying. But why did you woo for Elon?
I think he's doing great for freedom of speech, especially in Canada.
Yeah. Saving you from Trudeau. Trudeau, the little Pillsbury Trudeau boy. Do you have any affiliation to Tesla or anything like that?
I signed up for the Tesla truck.
The Cybertruck? You're waiting for it? Okay, I feel like society's waiting for it to run you over. No, but it has autopilot, so it'll for sure hit you. Elon runs so.
We're winning in the polls, by the way, and I have the biggest poll you've ever seen. They say it's bigger than Poland.
Dude, this is not what I meant when I said.
Biggest poll you've ever seen. They say it's bigger than Poland.
I wanted to do role play.
Wait, what's wrong?
I found somebody on Twitter that is doing, what do we call it? Damn, I forgot. What do we call it? Dramatic readings, right? You know how to do dramatic readings? They're doing dramatic readings of Trump tweets, but they're not doing it nearly as good as I think I could do it. I'm just saying. I don't think they are. I don't think the passion's there. I don't think the inflection's correct. I don't think they're doing it justice.
I don't even like Trump.
Okay. Oh, man, look, back in the day, it was 55 years ago. Man.
He does Biden too. A good Biden.
Just forget it.
What?
Forget it.
Mar, wait, what are you doing? We can still plow. Mar, wait, I thought you wanted roleplay.
That is not what I meant.
I was just doing a character. I was getting into it.
Austin, please stop.
Stop what?
Stop talking to me in that voice.
What voice?
Wow, you don't even know who you are anymore.
Am I doing an impression right now?
Dr. J sent me a YouTube video that says, feet tied, male barefoot with soles in tickle stock, ball gag and blindfolds, edits. And all I can see is 2 feet up in the air, strapped to a piece of wood, and a blurred shot of a hole cut in that wood to where you can see their asshole. What are you sending me?
Look at yourself. You're so weak and pathetic. You're an impression. What is this? Without me, you're nothing.
Oh no.
You all get confused, man.
They're taking over his mind.
If you've ever felt like you're not yourself, say I. I know I have.
Tony Robinson.
Hey, Austin. Just wanted to say.
No.
Sorry about earlier.
No.
Oh no. Oh no.
We're winning.
It's him.
Thank you, Donald. Great. Yeah. Finally, good to hear you. Yeah.
Thank you so much. We had a great talk, and you broke up.
It's the interview.
By the way, with the money as well as with the.
I know it's not like something you overtly. It's just a lifestyle. You didn't choose it. It chose you. I get it, Dr. J.
Rockets. You're sending out a lot of rockets, and also many millions of people. They broke your platform. What an honor.
So, Donald, you're actually a really nice guy. Tell me about that.
You know, I'm glad you brought that up because I'm very nice, and a lot of people, they don't know that I'm nice, like sugar and spice, but I'm very nice. I'm also sweet, and I also love dogs and cats, and I even eat lollipops.
And you're also very smart, too. Is that right?
That's correct. I see.
And you're also very smart, too. Is that correct? Very smart. A lot of people say, not so smart. I don't say this. They say this because I'm a very smart man.
Because I'm very smart. I'm smarter than almost everybody ever, by the way. I'm the smartest man in living history or living memory. And when you look at Joe Biden, we don't even know if he has an IQ or even a brain. If you opened it up, it would be like the scarecrow from the Wizard of Oz.
So I've been thinking, where do you think snipers should go? Because I think the roof is like an obvious great place for snipers.
Maybe in a box with a fox.
Or in a truck with a duck.
Or in a...
You're incredible, by the way. Yeah, so cool. So cool.
No taxes for you.
Thank you, Donald.
Elon Musk has this hatred for the left because his daughter it's turned out to be trans, right? But I think it's manifesting in a very strange way. Obviously, he's going to get his benefit, right? He's not doing this for no reason. He's doing this because he gets a benefit from it. And where can he get that benefit? The greatest benefit? Donald Trump. Where it's pay to play. It always has been.
What do you think is the most commonly eaten food in Venice?
French toast? Alfredo sauce?
Actually, it's fish because we are in a literal lagoon. Why do you think the Venetians moved from the mainland and created Venice?
They like to go fishing on the boats? Mount Vesuvius?
Actually, for safety, because they were running away from the Huns that attacked them. How do you think people move?
Okay.
Okay, let's do some.
That's the one we just watched.
You're a tax intern? What? That sounds like the lowest of the low. Do you even get income to pay taxes on? And your dream is to what? Make people's lives harder? Is that it? Make things worse?
I was very nervous about being employed, so when they
You were nervous about being employed.
Yeah.
You were like, I don't have skills. I can't have a job. Me, a job? If you could be anything, what would you be?
Probably like a business analyst.
Wow, big dreams.
A business analyst.
I'm a tax intern, but I dream of being a business analyst. God, that's crazy. No, I'm happy.
We got some breaking news, it looks like.
Storm the stage.
Let me finish going through this guy's stuff, and then we got some breaking news. Did Hassan get kicked out of the DNC?
Okay, I'll talk to you later, I guess.
Dating Tony Robbins.
Never been sad before, say hi. What's the problem, sweetheart?
I just feel like I always put way more effort into other people.
Let me tell you something. You have to learn to love yourself before you can love anyone else.
I guess that's true.
Now come here and give Uncle Tony a kiss. I love you.
I love you too. Do you want to maybe watch a movie, make some popcorn?
Popcorn? Wow, let me tell you a story about popcorn. I was 396 pounds. I lived under a bridge. I had no arms and no legs. I had to vibrate to communicate. It was very
Okay.
He said I had to vibrate to communicate. I had to vibrate to communicate.
All right, Jesse, what's your update? Okay, so
RFK Jr.'s never on fire. But way to fucking subtle shit post for your love for Trump. We get it.
Your audio is super low. Can't hear you. Okay, how about now? Is this better? No, now you just sound like you're...
And what is this obsession with crowd sizes? Seriously, folks. And have you seen his hands? They're so small. Makes a baby's hands look like boxing gloves. You know what they say about...
He does a good Obama. He does good impressions. He does a really good Biden, too. I know we've only saw a small clip, but we'll find one.
But for a man so small, how is he so fat? He looks like an Oompa Loompa with a thyroid condition. He skimmed a bit too much off the chocolate river.
You ever just get down and dirty under that Oval Office desk? I'm not quite sure what you're referring to. Like just having Melania go to town on that pig in a blanket. Oh, there was more than just Melania down there, by the way, and it was more like a tray of pigs and blankets. Damn, and the wall. So, like, you built it, you're still building it. We're gonna build it bigger than ever. It's going to be so huge, so incredible. Nobody's ever seen a wall like the one I'm building. And you don't drink or smoke, right? That's correct. Come on, you never did Molly in a bathtub full of supermodels, right?
There's some guy on here that does such a good Theo Vaughn.
I remember when I was just a little...
Here's Joe Biden.
It was 1901. I was this big. I remember I would live...
Was this big?
And I would ride this little snail to work. I would deliver newspapers. And it was an incredible thing. I had a friend. He was an ant. And he told me, he said, Joe, one day you're gonna, man, come on, look, folks. I remember I was just...
He does a good Joe Biden.
It was easy for me growing up. I remember when I was 8 years old, I was a janitor. I lived under a bridge. I had no arms and no legs. I weighed 596 pounds. I had to vibrate to communicate. It was very challenging. They looked at me and they called me the potato troll. The villagers feared me. At 9 p.m. at night, they'd come at me with pitchforks and torches. Life wasn't always easy for me.
You can take my ears, but you cannot take my liberty. They want to cut off my ears like the Taliban, but what they don't know is my ears can grow back like SpongeBob through budding, by the way. Hit me with your best shot, why don't you? Because if that's the best you got, you're a loser. You're such a loser, you missed so bigly, by the way. You had a big opportunity. You could have made my head blow up on TV, but you didn't do that, did you?
You didn't get me.
It's going to grow back bigger and better. It will have better hearing. I will hear like an owl. You can take my ears, but you can pretty. They want to cut off my ears.
We got some breaking news here. That's his pinned videos, so those are older ones, but they're pinned. That's all his content. That is Austin Nasso, Nasso. So Austin, like you would expect, and then Nasso. This is a breaking news. Johnny Gobble got a job. Johnny Gobble got a job. Johnny Gobble, 11-year-old painter.
Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation.
That's right. I'm almost 40 years old. Spent most of my life laying on the couch, painted. And now I'm a professional painter, and I live in Paintsville, Kentucky. I know there's a lot of irony there. And no, I'm not talking about being a painter and living in Paintsville, Kentucky. No, I'm talking about being 40 years old and finally getting a job. That's the funny part. Irony. And as you can imagine, there are a lot of people that are jealous of me. Not only because I got a job finally, but they're more jealous of my relationship with Ryan Upchurch. And my relationship, I mean, I don't talk to him directly necessarily, but I play a lot of his music. Well, it's a pirated CD somebody sent me, but I listen to his music all the time, and we're pretty much best friends.
So Johnny Gobble the other day was talking about how he's going to keep playing Ryan Upchurch music because he's always supported him. He's always been a supporter of Ryan Upchurch, and then he pops out the CD and it's a fucking burnt, pirated CD. So I don't think that's the support that Ryan thought when you said you supported him, but whatever.
I was the first one to put out that he wrecked his motorcycle. Only I knew that. That's because I keep track of him more than I do my kids. Yeah, that's right. And not in a stalker way. I mean, I just watch everything he does, and, you know, it's not stalker.
Oh, no.
Hanging around.
He's painting Ryan.
And I had so much time to look up Ryan Upchurch, and there he was.
Ryan.
Get a doctor on his bike, but there he was. Too scared to fight. Oh, hey guys. Gotcha Man. Actually, Gotcha Man is up here, just out of frame. Yeah, I know it's been a while. By up here, I mean in witness protection. Protected from internet errors. I got this new painting gig going on, and it's going real good, man.
I'm assuming he did get a painting job.
Off stuff, I ain't thinking about internet stuff at all anymore. I mean, pretty much. But shout out to all the supporters out there holding it down, even though I've been gone for a while. I hear y'all.
I stand with Gotcha Man.
Yeah.
And I stand with Gotcha Man.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm just covering up this soft white underbelly bathroom here, and I really...
Soft white underbelly bathroom.
Ain't no lie, this tracks. Anyway, I've really been working hard lately.
Another day goes cold on a sleepless night.
Yeah, so we're all working together here. We're really hard painters, contractors, if you will, working really hard. And I know people think there ain't no money.
And the storm rolls on out of control, deep in her heart.
People think there ain't no money in it, but let me show you something right here. Y'all ain't even ready. Let me pull up my pay stub. Wow. 18 per hour.
Per hour.
I'm gonna be honest with you, you're more than me. And I know I said if you got a job, I'd leave you alone and wouldn't mess with you anymore. But a couple things, buddy. Number one, f*** you. Number two, I'm not sure if you got a job or not. You're probably just helping those people in the apartment complex paint their apartment, or you're just singing. You just broke into somebody's apartment to sing.
In her hand with a loaded gun.
I think there's a video here. Hold on. Copy video address or copy link address. I'm assuming he broke into somebody's apartment to sing, but oh, here we go. Time lapse.
I put my past off in a flap, if it's slow till I get nervous. Been afflicted indecision, keep me further from my purpose. I've been personally this person, I love that I've been hurting.
This is what he does at his job.
In her face, she did her best to deceive me. And on me, on my square, stop the blessing I'm receiving. See the ripples in the world, I know God is intervening. Butterfly in Alabama, cause tsunamis and need. Got me thinking about the future, real life. I love when the music hits, feel like praying I get better with time. Consider this another letter of mine. As the years pass, I find a way to put myself last. Focus on the art, never compromise the self fast. Dealt that. Heard I should have held back. Pain was in my heart, ripped me apart until you felt that I'm toxic. I remember.
He's in here, Dad.
This is his job? No fucking way. Oh, I clicked on the wrong guy. Hold on.
Watch that moonshine straight from the copper. On the road where my gun can't be heard. Here you go. Here's another one, guys. Yeah, we them holler boys. Holler if you needed something done. Holler if you need a chip on the shoulder and a hand with a loaded gun. We'll be out that screen door, no shirt on, leaving 2 black marks down a 1-lane road.
Why did he go cross-eyed for that part?
We'll be out that screen door, no shirt on, leaving 2 black marks down.
Is that just me, or is he fucking cross-eyed while he's singing this part? Hold on.
Leaving.
Is this the part of the song everybody's got to do cross-eyed? I shouldn't have zoomed in. I shouldn't have zoomed in. That's what did it for me. There used to be these local commercials where they would, where like a door, they'd be like these people at the door and doorbell would ring and a woman would answer it with like holding her kids back because, you know, she's like a stay-at-home mom. And there would be like the roughest looking like 3 or 4 guys there in like dirty fucking overalls, spitting tobacco juice, like unshaved, dirty, nasty looking. And they'd say, "We're here to fix your heat pump." And she'd just be like, "Ah," and slam the door. And then it would go to like a better HVAC company that is professional, blah, 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 whatever. That's who Johnny reminds me of. The actors that were pretending to be the bad heat pump company.
2 black marks down a 1-lane road. Yeah, we them holler boys. Here it is, Dana.
Okay, here we go.
Listen here.
Little Garth Brooks, baby.
Sounds good in here. It just sounds good in here.
That echo does not sound good. You know people pay tons of money to remove the echo, right?
And the thunder rolls and the lightning strikes. Another day grows cold on a sleepless.
So that's why Gotcha Man's making fun of while he's painting. Somebody just keeps singing because they're all in the same crew kind of deal.
And the storm rolls on out of control, deep in her heart, and the thunder rolls.
Yeah, I'm assuming he was supposed to be cutting in, but he's not doing a great job of it.
Because you're a weirdo loser, dude. Anyway, let's get out of here. Yeah, it's been a long time since I made a video, and not because I didn't want to, and just been spending time with family. I mean, I know there's been a lot of wild speculation about why I'm not online lately, and none of it's true, man. I legit just spending time with the family. Let me get out of here real quick. Also, as some of you guys were able to guess in the comments section and messaging me directly, yeah, my truck did get repossessed, so I no longer have my blue truck. I was living outside of Queens, and you know, this painting gig didn't pay enough to keep it, I guess. I got to say though, my favorite conspiracy theory out of all of them is that Ryan Upchurch ran me off the internet. That last video I made, he was so upset about it that he got to me or sent his goons after me, and it shut me up. I mean, you guys know better than that by now. That's never gonna happen. But it
makes sense.
Daily, I went to this Parade of the Hills, which is in Athens County, Ohio, Nelsonville to be exact. I go there every year with the family.
There's more noise canceling.
Cooksville, Roseville Pottery Festival.
Got a couple clips of the parade I can put in here, and it's funny. I got to see the most unique technique I've ever seen. Somebody throwing darts at a balloon, and that's my 5-year-old son. Yay! As most of you know, he's autistic, and It was just the funniest thing. Like, and somehow hit the balloons and won a prize. So, I mean, is it really a bad technique?
Good job.
It works. So I'll throw a couple clips of that in there, and whatever else I could find on the phone. Oh shit! Way right there. Took the older boys golfing, and it was one of the only times. No, I shouldn't say golfing, but we went to the driving range to practice.
I'm gonna be honest, I didn't even see that. I couldn't even find that.
Gotta hit it center. Before going golfing again, and it's funny because you know how it is when you get a little bit older. You're pushing 40 years old, and these teenagers are just so much more athletic than you, and everything they could just do it way better than you. And I found something. Driving golf balls is something that I am actually better than him.
I couldn't even find that one either. Jesus, bro, where are you hitting these things?
Like he's been doing it forever. I guarantee it.
Damn.
Let's read his community post. Oh, view your pay statement. Afternoon, Johnny. So this says, good afternoon, Johnny. Review pay statement. Last paid on Friday, August 23rd for 95 hours. Your take-home pay is up 51% from your last pay period. Yeah, probably because there's a partial pay period. Like, Jesus Christ. He's been killing it out here. He's been killing it. He's been working here forever. Because you had your live set for kids only. That's why your comments are turned off now, too. My screen time is 9 minutes every 24 hours. If you don't pay attention to real life as much as I do, and he says, me too. Me too. I've been out here working. I ain't got time to look at my phone. Fucking Johnny, dude.
He said, ain't no way he Tiger Woods in here, but...
Was it only 250? Yeah, right. This is Tiger Woods.
I don't know. You know, I realize that a lot of people...
Johnny says, my work speaks for itself, and he shows a painted wall. I'm almost convinced you can teach about anybody to paint. Like, I don't know what the brag is here, but you can teach about anybody to paint. Especially from fucking 10 feet away or whatever. Did he paint that light cover?
They don't know his...
Cutting in's a little aggravating, right? But from this angle, you can't even tell. He might have paint all over the side of that door frame. It's impossible to tell.
People have no self-awareness. They don't realize that if they're online to be a troll and to call people out and take digs at people, you can't just then the very next day post your family outing. It just doesn't really mix that well. As you guys know, every couple months I'll sprinkle in a little something personal or whatever if it just falls in the background. Somebody asks me about it, but that's why, I mean, if people want to see it, cool. I mean, I should probably start a whole nother channel because I enjoy it. And by no means I want you to lose it. By no means am I doing anything to try to get you out of a job if you actually have a job. Fact burn, that's what I'm talking about. But you just, and by no means I want you to lose it. By no means am I doing anything to try to get you to lose.
So he claims that so the last time I was in his community post and I was like, just get a fucking job, dude. Right? Like, you can still do YouTube. You can still do videos. Even I work a fucking job. Like, you can still do all that. And his community tried to tell me that every time he gets a job, everybody calls and gets him fired. But that's not true, because the last job he had, when he was on a trash truck, he got fired for a safety violation. And then he called his boss and snitched on everybody and said, well, Joe does it and Rob does it and Pete does it. All these people are doing it. You didn't fire them. Like, just snitched on everybody.
Lose it.
Because he's the guy that got fucking
And this is
caught.
something new to him. I mean, this guy is like showing off on his live and her live. Like, so this is how many regular hours I have. This is how many overtime hours I have. This is what I do.
Yeah, he might lose it, but I would almost guarantee they're probably doing something fucked up. So all they would have to do is Merle have to report that they're not getting divorced, but they're separated, and that he's staying at a different address with his mama or his dad or some shit.
I do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And, I mean, it's so exciting, man. And then they work the guts out of me. They still got a few hours overtime. It says work the guts out of me. Jesus, man. I noticed your uploading slowed down a little bit too there, Pimpin'. What happened? Turns out it's hard to do this and work, ain't it? Imagine trying to defend yourself now. Imagine if I came after you and had my local law enforcement try to summon you in to go turn yourself in on some charges because of internet beef and you're a crybaby and can't handle none of it. Imagine juggling that there, Fag Burn. That's the reason I'll never stay off your neck. Imagine you having to put in that little...
Yes, he lost his job for a safety violation. I don't know if it was like PPE or something. Riding on the back of the truck, maybe, because it was like a trash truck. And then he called his boss and says, and records it. It says, I just want to know why you fired me. And the guy said, you know why we fired you. We let you go because of this, this, and this. And he's like, well, I want to tell you that Pete does it and Joe does it, and I've seen Dave do it. And if you go down here at this place at this time, you can catch 2 of them doing it right then.
3 hours that you put in, that few hours overtime, and get your guts worked out. And then after that, or in between that, on your lunch break, have to call some county attorney and email him evidence to prove your innocence, and then go seek out a lawyer to help you with it. Imagine that there, Fagburn. I don't think you'll ever grow up one day and realize your actions. Neither one of you guys. You guys are just ride around high listening to Ryan Upchurch pirated music for the rest of your life.
Yeah, we them holler boys. Holler if you needed something done.
Speaking of, how high is she in this video?
Or if you need a chip on the shoulder and a hand with a loaded gun.
I mean, it's a bad look, man.
He's about to make it.
On camera, listen to Ryan Upchurch music, and then why do I get hate for it? Is what I don't understand. But no, man, the last thing that I seen that I'll address, I've heard people comparing me, because this whole Rusty and Rich situation, and I'm not going to speak on it, man, because it ain't none of my business, for one, and I like both of them. I mean, I got a problem with Rusty or Rich. But people are like, oh, well, Gotcha Man did the same thing. Gotcha Man, he was on phone calls with Fagburn. He did the same thing. Buddy, you must not have been paying attention. There's a huge difference. And Rich, I mean, it is what it is, dude. You fucked up. I mean, you claimed you got high or whatever, and you did. You called dude and spilled the beans and was just opening up and having conversations you shouldn't have. And that's one thing Rusty said about you that is true. If anybody's ever spoken to Rich on the phone, you know you've spoken to Rich on the phone, because it's pretty hard to get off the phone with him. But by no means is that anything like. The difference there is the phone call that I had with Fagburn was because he struck my channel for the sole purpose of getting my phone number, just to call me and ask me why I'm so mean to him, and if I could chill out and just be nice and all this weird shit. And it was just recording me to try to get something. That's the big difference. The only time I ever called that man was on camera in my garage to tell him that Ryan Upchurch sent me an Xbox 5 or a PS 100 or whatever that joke was. I might be able to pull a clip up. I don't want to put much effort into it, but you guys who know, you know what I'm talking about. That's a far cry from me just reaching out late one night and spending hours telling him all this bullshit. And who knows, man? I don't know what y'all got going on, but I get why I get grouped into it, because from that side looking this way, I guess you guys would think that I'm in like these back chats, and I found out now it's called Discord, and it's some sort of I think it's like YouTube, I guess, but it's not live or something, but people can chat back and forth. And then I guess there was like membership lives where people sat and talked about a man and his conditions, and I wasn't a part of any of that. And I'm not trying to by any means distance myself. I make fun of the guy, and I still think he's an old closeted fag. And I believe everything that people have said, but by no means was I in any of these backstreet conversations, these members' lives that went on for hours, or I've never even touched a Discord server. I don't know nothing about none of it. I have plenty of fun doing what I already do. Gobble, keep your job. Beth, take a nap. Rich. And peace, pot. Pay your bills.
I was looking at Ryan Upchurch's community page. So Johnny Gobble got a job. Congratulations. Glad he got a job. There you go. Ryan Upchurch posted a quote. It says, "With too many clues, you become clueless." Part 2 of Make America Realistic Again being made now. Going to be some interesting talking points for our country and for our group of folks especially. See you then. With too many clues, you become clueless. See how that works? If you have too many clues, you have no clues. He shared the Theo Vaughn, Donald Trump interview, of course. He says, they deleted my Instagram account like I give a fuck. What world do these motherfuckers live in? Like someone can't just make another one. Freaks. And they deleted it for sharing a famous Ronald Reagan quote. And then he shares a screenshot, and it doesn't say for sharing a Ronald Reagan quote. It says, too much activity on your account doesn't follow our community guidelines. Too much. Let's see what this is. Just a minute-long video. Let's see what this one says. Ryan Upchurch, everybody.
God,
I know you can just hear it.
You see shit and you're just like, oh my God, cringe, fucking. Look at what this dude wrote, thinking someone's gonna give a fuck. I'm sorry, but Ryan Upchurch crossed a fucking line with me, and he said that the part of his foot, he turned his back with thousands of his fans. Oh yes, you know.
For claiming that the Bible's false.
So much about religion and stuff. Which Bible you talking about, you stupid fuck? Do you realize there's 50 main Bibles in English that are all different? And there's a total of about 900 common ones in English? I mean, do you think there's one Bible? I'm talking about the Bible of Jeebus. That's the one I'm talking about. The best part is the coverage on it from other people.
Now, I've heard a lot of shitty rumors going around about Bubba, but I ain't never heard that.
Folks like a rumor, shit. Good thing we're not 5th graders anymore.
Now, I need video. I need proof on something about that.
Fuck yeah, open an call the feds. Call the feds, they'll know.
Because that's fucked, and I just don't want to believe it.
Right, yeah. What's fucked and unbelievable is the other guy thinks there's only one Bible.
I need somebody reaching out Bubba.
Is that what you need? I think y'all need to stop fucking girls with Bible verses tattooed on them and then the next day thinking you are a preacher and you've read all thousands of the Bibles. My favorite Bible verse is John 3:16, for God so loved WWE.
Well, that was interesting, I guess. Ryan Upchurch, everybody. Let's get back to this. I want to say Hassan, who is arguably the biggest political streamer. So here's what I don't like about Hassan. First of all, he claims to be like this socialist, whatever streamer. And he has so if you don't like the power of the people, right? Giving companies back to the people, like a socialist utopia kind of deal. But he's definitely taking advantage of people and their labor. He doesn't practice what he preaches, right? It doesn't seem like he's passionate about the cause. He's more passionate about getting viewers and young people or whatever. Plus, he owes like his whole career to his uncle being Cenk Uygur from the Young Turks, right? And Destiny. When he decided to like quit his job and start streaming full time, like he even lived with Destiny. Destiny was the #1 political streamer at the time. He even lived with Destiny. Destiny would send all his fans to him, all this shit to him, and now he pretends as if he invented. There's an interview with him where he claims he invented the political streaming on Twitch, and that's what he owes. He never mentions Destiny. Never says shit about him. Destiny did invent that category. He was the only big streamer that was doing politics and playing games and talking about social issues. And he gave Hassan a start, and then he just kind of said fuck him, which has been done to me a bunch of times. So I don't know. I kind of feel that for him. Let's see Destiny's coverage of Hassan getting kicked out. It says midstream at the DNC. We might have to skip around because it's like a 50-minute video.
Kicked out.
We'll do what we can.
Oh, here we go. They are getting kicked out. This is insane. The fact that he decides this moment right here to do this is insane. The whole
Did everybody in chat just die simultaneously, or is my chat shit fucked up?
Lawsuit.
Who's y'all worst guest? Worst guest? I would say the omni-liberal.
Hassan gets kicked out here.
We are. Depp, I don't think anyone gives a fuck, so I don't know. Jim Carrey, also old. Donald Trump Jr., what about if he comes out and
it's not connected to anything, I guess. It's not connected to Twitch.
Michael Cohen, he could be in there. Tom Cruise, nobody cares. Yeah, anyways, I don't know. Okay. So Hassan got kicked out of
Internal
DNC.
error.
Breaking news. I think they were losing a child on October 7th or something like that. He decides to bring up like Palestinian things and say it's gross that they're like only having one voice here. Like while these parents are talking about like I think losing a child on October 7th, like holy shit, bro, you're retarded. Or were they the parents of hostages?
I'm waiting to see the moment where he's getting kicked out here. I'm sorry, I'm looking.
Oh, the parents of Israeli hostages, maybe.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, Facebook and YouTube are working. It's not picking up the Twitch chat for some reason. I can still see it over here, though.
Did you use the arrow keys on the keyboard?
No, I'm a clicker. Okay. I'll be a clicker till the day I fucking die.
You might be going to the penthouse again.
Was that was her talk? Oh, you went back?
Yeah.
Okay, times to it.
All right, we're ready to go. Let's let her rip.
Wait.
Where's your bag?
Oh, they were probably already told. You gotta go back further.
Yeah. I refuse to be.
I knew that you guys had it.
Why would you give me the mouse if I just want to click?
Yeah, because what you want here.
Oh my god. You know what? We are gonna try this. Now I just need my mat that you keep discarding. No, I don't need it right now. That's okay.
Okay, no mat.
I'll try to keep reloading chat until Twitch connects again.
Oh, he is packing up.
Is that Mr. Beat next to him?
I don't even know. Mr. Beast.
No, I don't think it is. Bro, there's like 2 pixels here.
Was Mr. Beast at the DNC?
I'll beam it. Oh, it's still okay.
Oh shit.
No, it says the main ingest is on now.
Why were you not there?
Because I didn't want to risk
someone
like
link me the
getting murdered.
Going some with that is a minor thing I'll talk about in the future. But there's also like I don't want to show up and I'm like there for 4 days or some shit and there's like not much I'm able to stream or it's like laggy or dropping the whole time and like some crazy major political event happens and I can't cover it because now I'm like stuck here and I can't like be on.
So that
okay.
Like we don't have
an allotted space.
Okay.
So like, we have to move. Like today they told me I was gonna have this space, this balcony, the entire day, right? From 2:30 till until the end of the DNC, and then things changed, and randomly they were like, "You got to be out of here." We were supposed to be out of here, so I'm gonna have to pack all this up, swap over to my roaming camera. We're gonna have to stash the bag somewhere, like the remote desktop setup that goes into that bag.
I don't like how he's built like a awkward mannequin that is, you would see like a suit store to sell like sports coats. Look at something's wrong with his shoulders. Like, I know Trump wears like shoulder pads, but he's built like a rectangle.
And then we're gonna try to see if we
look how long his shoulders are. It's not like they're big from like working out. It's like they're too long or some shit.
I'm probably gonna have to cancel my interviews that I have with Ilhan Omar and Sean Fain, and potentially go back to my hotel and stream from my hotel because I want to live react and offer commentary to the events that are going on tonight. It's like the last night. I don't care to be here. You know what I mean? It's cool.
He doesn't care to be here.
Right,
He just wants to clout.
I don't want any more Hassan content.
I don't think they're saying we're getting kicked out.
We're getting kicked out.
Not like fully kicked out, but
not like yeah. Oh, they are getting kicked out. He lost his booth.
You know what? All it takes to make you happy.
It was too much.
All it takes to make you happy is for him to suffer. That's it. You're a simple man.
There might not be principle at all. It's not like all the other people that are in there getting cleared out.
Oh!
There are people in the creative program, people that like own this week or
He is getting booted.
He's a more perfect union guy. Okay.
Damn. Oh no.
Look at the smile on your face.
Oh my god.
Look at that big
the clout demon getting out-demoned by the Democratic establishment. I've never been more proud.
The clout demon.
Fascist once again.
I wish I could put the camera on you.
Hassan has been ethnically cleansed from his DNC booth. Oh my goodness.
All right.
Ethnically cleansed.
That's all right. Maybe I'll go to his hotel and they can do the interview there. Ooh, did he?
So let me see. There was a video that said why we got kicked out. Oh, here he explains it. Maybe. Let's see.
Pink is on, bro. Do you think I give it? We listened to her sing like 11 times earlier, dude. Like literally the entire morning was this. This was my entire goddamn morning, bro. I was right there. They're gonna show literally my studio in a second. Okay. Like, do you see that band? I was right on top of them. Okay. This guy here, what happened to you at the DNC? We got kicked out. Did us actually get kicked out? No, I didn't get kicked out of the. I didn't get kicked out of the convention. I just got kicked out of the studio space that they had given me. And they did it in like a very weird way too. They did it literally during an interview that I was conducting with the New York Times about creators for Kamala, which makes it like extra crazy. Because it literally, like, that is a story in and of itself. I don't know if the guy will actually write about it or not, but like, ultimately, it was like a very weird thing to do overall, because like they had told me originally that NBC said earlier, because of the super secret special guest DNC secured areas that nobody's allowed into. Yeah, it's Beyonce, bro, and it's probably Taylor Swift, maybe, I don't know, but like. The thing that's like crazy about it is that, they
seems like somebody more important came along. They gave his booth up. Maybe
they told me that I was fine. Like they told me that I was fine. Like that I had the space that they had allotted for me. That it was going to start late. But then it turns out, it was not fine. Unceremoniously, out of nowhere, it's George Bush. He's been working on his singing. The Democratic Party has two kinds of people in it. Those who think there should be a Palestinian speaker and those who think they should give the time to Taylor Swift. I mean, it's like, that is true. Some super donor probably had you kicked out, so they had a box for their kid to watch Taylor Swift. I don't know how the box situation works. They guaranteed you the space for the whole day and then kicked you out in a way that completely your schedule. Yeah. But like also the other side of the story is that like, honestly, the other side of the story ultimately is that like, I was never supposed to be at the DNC. You know what I mean? So I'll take it. I'll take all the moments that they gave me and all of the, I will take like every aspect that, I'll take all of the access that I got. No way it was someone big that would have done it earlier. No. News already reported on creators being kicked out of their spot. Okay. That's so cute, chat. That's funny. You guys are funny. You did great the whole time. All the booths were empty because Jamie Harrison's position plan awful. The arena got overfilled and shut down by the fire marshal to the point reporters can't get in. So they panicked and kicked out booths / influencers for space. It's why the PAL delegates can't get in too. I've never experienced this as a journalist in my life. The DNC has told security at the United Center that journalists cannot be guaranteed re-entrance into the arena if they get to use the restrooms. Yeah. So that does make sense. That's literally the reason why I left. Because Ilhan Omar could not exit the arena. So that made it so that I was like, oh, there's no way I'm going to be able to talk to them. Do you understand? Like that it is.
Oh, so he wanted to go confront them over Israel for sure.
Like, I'm sure that is part of the reason why I got cooked. Okay, definitely.
He's been talking about confronting them for pro-Palestinian. Like, why are you killing babies?
Still whack. Because, I got like was DNC too successful? I don't think so, but that's why I left. The reason why I left is because I knew that it was chaotic and I didn't want to be there for that chaos, and that I knew that I was not going to be able to get to see or talk to anyone. Is this like a post-Trump shooting security thing? No. Chairman Fain was on TYT after you left? No, I know. Michael Schur got the interview before I ever talked to him. But he's also like waiting at the entrance of the pen. Like I was going to have a specific space. Journalists are actually being turned away now. Show press area way over capacity. Just saw Ta-Nehisi Coates get turned away. Yo, it's real casual like that. Everyone who's like pro-Palestine just accidentally happens to be getting clapped at the DNC. I'm not even kidding. I know it's not deliberate. It's not by design. I know that they're not doing it on purpose, but it is funny that like anyone who has criticized the DNC on the Palestine front is just like, hey, by the way, sorry, you just can't be in this location. How is that? I don't even think it's on purpose. I don't think it's on purpose. I think it actually is like overbooked. This Kellyanne Conway got let through a staff door. Well, I guess we don't have that kind of riz, dude. We are not as valuable to the Democratic Party as Kellyanne Conway. Jesus Christ. This is going to, I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you something right now. This is going to piss off the media so goddamn much. If you think like the New York Times fact check stuff was crazy the other day when they were like, Donald Trump's size is actually a thick 8. Like, you know, fact check. Donald Trump's size. What is this? Packed to the rafters? Why'd you send this to me? Anyway, my point is, they're gonna be so much more aggressive in terms of how they're operating. Dude, I'm Lisan Al-Gaib, baby. Call me Lisan Al.
Why does it seem like it's so fucking clipped, dude? It doesn't even seem real.
Bro, tell me how this wasn't the best move of all time, okay? We were gonna be sitting around, thumb up our, like waiting for an interview that was never gonna be able to happen, okay? We were literally gonna be in there. Instead, I'm in my sweet ass hotel room. I get to go to sleep early. How
much Zen does he have over here on this table, dude?
React. And I will say this, I was like moderating my position when I was in there. I wasn't like saying anything that I normally wouldn't say, but I will say this, okay? Is bro coping? No, I cannot pay attention. In that room, it was like virtually impossible. It was virtually impossible to pay attention. I think my commentary wasn't as good. You were yourself the whole way and got free interviews out of it. Yeah. I never compromised on my values. I never compromised on my views, but honestly, that shit was not easy. Like it was like, I mean, obviously I was down even around to a degree where like I straight up.
If you're in a room big enough for a microphone, a camera, and a computer, you can stream, dude. The room was so tiny. It was so distracting.
Played the Kamala Harris Wants to F Your Children song in front of the DNC handlers that I had. They were like standing in the corner. I mean, they weren't handlers, but they were very nice, to be fair. I do think it's true, but it does kind of display how out of touch the DNC are with your world and influence. Would they have done that with any mainstream media, possibly with far less reach? No, they would not. But remember, the mainstream media pays for those slots. Like, they have to pay for it. So it's a little, I mean, like that's what the New York Times guy was saying.
So he's complaining he got a free spot, and then at some point they're like, oh, sorry, we need this spot. But if he'd have paid for it, I could see his complaining.
I would never pay for that. And I think they were kicking everyone out of those booths. You weren't in a permanent press spot. Yeah, I'm sure they just like cleared everybody out. It just sucks. Especially because there was literally another space that I could go to, but they were just like, no, you can't go there. New York Times guy was trying to tell you that this event wasn't as big until Joe got out and all the VIPs are rolling in. No, he was talking about something different. He was talking about the influencers that they worked with. They were saying that they were having a hard time getting influencers to work with. And I think that's the reason why they got like the crop of influencers, maybe. I don't know. Seemed like that's what he was trying to say. Look, it worked out. Why did they take your credentials? They didn't. I have them still here. They didn't take my DNC credentials. They took my credentials to the floor, to that floor specifically. Right after I said, oh, well, they didn't take our credentials away.
All right, here we go. Mike Lindell, I showed you he was undercover, right? Mike Lindell, 12-year-olds. He was undercover, shaved the mustache, right? Hops in to the DNC undercover, and Farron Balanced. Let's see, a 12-year-old comes up and gives him some questions.
MyPillow CEO and founder Mike Lindell
Mike Pillow
kept his word this week when he showed up at the DNC and shaved his mustache. He shaved his mustache, of course, because he was trying to go incognito at the DNC as part of it. Culminated with Mike Lindell yelling at a 12-year-old content creator who, by the
what? This is going to be so good for your image, Mike Pillow. You got to go to the Democratic National Convention. It would be so good for your image. You get to meet other voters. You get to talk to them about voting machines. There's nothing that could possibly go wrong here. He's screaming at a 12-year-old with no mustache. God damn it. Somebody get Mike Pillow out of here.
way, verbally ended up beating the crap out of Mike Lindell. He couldn't even win an argument with a 12-year-old. Now, granted, it was an exceptionally brilliant 12-year-old, mind you, but Mike Lindell still fell flat on his face. He couldn't even convince a kid of his election lies. Here it is. This is 12-year-old content creator and activist. His name is Noah, and he absolutely dismantled Mike Lindell to his face. Beautiful thing to see. Here it is.
That's in your state. You want to know more in your state? They just found 250.
Any source. 200. Beautiful thing to see. Here it is.
That's in your state. You want to know more in your state? So they just found 250.
Georgia.
257,000 votes. This happened last week. A judge ruled in Georgia that are missing from the 2020 election.
So
this just came out. You're behind. You should.
So your source is trust me, bro. That's your source.
The source. It's in your papers in Georgia. You need to read your news.
You haven't given me any last name.
Read your news. No, this is your Georgia news.
Yeah.
This is your Georgia. This is your Georgia.
Thanks, buddy.
Have a good day, sir. Let's get
At 12 years old, that young man just achieved what I wish I could achieve at age 41, which is to tell Mike Lindell off to his face in person. Absolutely phenomenal. And by the way, Noah there, again, he is a young content creator. He was actually there at the invitation of DNC chairman Jamie Harrison. And Jamie Harrison, of course, didn't take too kindly to Mike Lindell confronting this young man. And Harrison put out on social media saying, quote, "The next time you feel compelled to yell at another young black kid, come find me." That's also pretty damn powerful because, yes, that was a very bad look for Mike Lindell, and even worse.
Mike Pillow's a bad look altogether.
But here's the thing. And Noah was right to point this out. He's like, your source is just, trust me, bro. Because I did some digging into this, right? Mike Lindell claimed 257,000 ballots were found to have been thrown out in Georgia by a judge just last week. You know, more than 3.5 years after the election, this judge just stumbled upon them last week. So obviously, okay, you've got an exact number. You've got judge, you've got Georgia, you've got the person, the location, and the issue. Should be easy to find online using those terms, right?
But you can't. I was just Googling it.
Nope. I did some digging, and I can't find a single thing related to anything close to what Mike Lindell is saying.
So he just lied to this kid and to say, like, you're behind. This just happened last week. You need to get up to date. You need to know what's actually going on in your state. 257,000 votes a judge just found were missing in Georgia. What?
There's nothing that I can find that even came out of the courts in Georgia in the last few weeks about the 2020 election. Now, you would think if something like that had happened, or if there was any kind of court ruling out of Georgia about the 2020 election results, you'd be able to find it. Honest to God, the most recent ruling I found out of Georgia regarding the 2022 election was from January 2nd of this year. Again, I did a deep dive into this. There is no way at all to verify anything Mike Lindell said right there. I can, however...
Anything he ever says. He's usually misrepresenting what he is saying with a different spin, like ballot images that shouldn't have been deleted, but they were. It was like a process thing that yet, but we still have the original ballots. Who gives a fuck? Like this shouldn't happen. We should have processes in place that prevent it from happening. We need to make sure it doesn't happen on any other election. But worst case scenario, let's say we challenge all of those ballot images. We still have the ballots. We just put them through the scanner again and it'll make new ballot images.
Based on the complete lack of evidence for it, conclude that he is in fact making every single bit of that up. There is no record of anything that Mike Lindell was yelling.
Yeah, I've seen the Midas Touch video. They were looking for him.
At that kid. Oh, and for the record, if you think that's the only person that Mike Lindell yelled at, then you're also mistaken. Because as Mediaite reported, when Mike Lindell first rolled up to the DNC, gets out of his car, Rudy Giuliani is with him because Giuliani now works for Lindell. I mean,
oh my God.
I'm gonna take it aside here and go on a bit of a tangent.
Aren't they both fucking broke? How does one work for someone else who's more broke than you are?
Giuliani works for the MyPillow guy. That is how far Rudy Giuliani, the former mayor of New York.
Apparently Trump doesn't even talk to Rudy Giuliani anymore. That's the word on the streets.
The man formerly known as America's mayor has denigrated himself so much, destroyed his reputation so much, that the only guy he can find to hire him is the MyPillow guy. And he is now, Rudy Giuliani is now the second fiddle to Mike Lindell, who's rolling around like a rock star, trying to go incognito by shaving his mustache, but then drawing more attention to himself by dressing like Roger Stone. I mean, honestly, Mike Lindell looked like a Batman villain, which is what Roger Stone typically looks like. But anyway, back to the main point here. When Lindell rolled up to the DNC, he gets out of the SUV, Rudy Giuliani's right behind him, and he immediately starts arguing with Harris supporters, like yelling at them. According to Mediaite, it was a nasty, nasty situation. Got to the point where Lindell's security entourage had to like pull him away and keep him going. And I guess at that point he went inside, saw young Noah there, figured, oh boy, here's somebody I can win an argument against, right? If I can't win an argument against a 12-year-old, then obviously, you know, something's wrong. And then he proceeded to get his ass proverbially handed to him by young Noah there. I have no doubt that obviously, see, I had not heard of Noah prior to this, but obviously he is a very big deal, being invited by the chairman of the DNC himself. This young man's career is going to surpass anything I could ever hope to do in my career. If he is already that good at 12, yeah, this is a guy to watch. This is a guy to pay attention to. Probably should all go follow him right now, too. Incredibly smart. I cannot say enough kind words about him because I am blown away, not just by his knowledge, but by his quick reactions and his quick wit. I mean, hell, that is something that every single one of us that does this every day strives to have. And this young man comes around, blows those of us who've been doing it for 20 years out of the water. Absolutely bonkers there. But the point is, Mike Lindell promised us a couple weeks ago he was going to go to the DNC. He was going to flip all these people over to Trump. Oh, man, it was going to swing the election. He was going to convince them with the facts. He said he was going to...
I think they did a poll where 7 out of 8 voters after Kamala Harris's speech they were independent, still undecided. 7 out of 8 of them decided to vote for Kamala, and one of them said he was still undecided, or maybe Trump. Said that he didn't. The one person, which everybody was quoting on Twitter, all the right-wing people were quoting on Twitter, said he didn't believe she was ready enough. Maybe like she just needed to get it down a little bit more and maybe run again next time or something like that.
Show up there and present people with these items, this evidence that he has, and all he has, as Noah points out, is trust me. You know, at the very least, Mike, you could have at least printed out an article. You could have printed out the court ruling that you say existed from last week to show people like, oh, you think I'm full of crap? Look right here. It says right in this. I'll read my thing.
Oh, yeah. Donald Trump is having a January 6th awards gala. So for the terrorists who fucking committed insurrection against the United States government, stormed the Capitol looking for politicians to kill because they were upset about the election results, they're getting an awards gala thrown by the president who lost that election.
But you couldn't even do that because it doesn't exist. Because nothing that you have claimed over the last 4 years exists. You have been proven wrong to the point where you now have to pay a guy $5 million for proving you wrong, and you think that you're going to win people over by walking up and yelling in their faces about things that are completely untrue. This is what the Republican Party is. The fact that this man has risen to prominence on the right shows you that this is what they are now. They're all a bunch of Mike Lindells running around acting like idiots. That is what the modern-day Republican Party has become. No real facts. You just make things up. And in order,
it is kind of sad to see what the prominent Republicans are now, and to look back on what Republicans used to be like, and they may have been like blatantly lying, I don't know, but like smaller government, protect the Constitution, support our troops, very patriotic, very pro Second Amendment, and then see what that's turned into, like a bunch of fucking reality TV stars that everybody fucking hates.
to actually make your point to people, you just get in your face and yell your lies at them until they believe you, or until you get out of breath and walk away. That is what the Republican Party stands for today, and Mike Lindell is the perfect example of that. Hi everyone, this here is little Athena, and Athena would like to know why you haven't subscribed to Fair and Balanced yet, so please, don't let Athena down. Subscribe today.
Good job, Fair and Balanced. Marty Like Me Now says, hashtag Gold Coat rips off a 74-year-old disabled veteran, takes half, of course, dodges his calls. They have the nerve to write him back, and here's what they wrote. He says, hello, I'm a 74-year-old retired disabled grandmother who feels taken advantage of. Last year, I put the full amount of my retirements thinking it was a good company due to all the outstanding reviews. I have seen all the outstanding reviews I have seen and whatnot. But in the past 7 months, it seems they have lost over 50% of my total funds already. I have tried to call countless times to try and get help, and all I get is you will get a phone call in a couple of hours. Obviously, I never received the call. I'm at the point of getting the CFTC involved. Now, they respond to this. It looks like this is like a complaint-style website. I'm not sure what this website's from. But anyways, they respond. It said, hi, blank. Thank you for taking time to leave a review. We understand your concern. The good news is that what you're seeing on the statement from the custodian is just the spot price of precious metals, not the value of the precious metals in the account, as noted on the statement itself. We are glad to know that you were able to connect with a member of Gold Coast team and discuss your experience in greater detail. We apologize for any confusion. We appreciate the opportunity to review your concerns. If we can be of further assistance, please don't hesitate to contact us at blank or email us at blank at your convenience. Imagine lying to disabled elderly people. Oh, that's just the spot price. But imagine what we could sell it for, because these are all collectibles. But you're not allowed to put collectibles in a 401k.
Boy, J.D. Vance really stepped in it this time. And
let's see what he did.
Before I even show you this idiotic clip of J.D. Vance on live television accidentally attacking his own running mate, the thing I love the most about J.D. Vance is every couple days, he does something even dumber than what he did a couple days before. And every time...
He's got to be like the anti-vice presidential candidate, right? He's like the worst.
Time that happens, it's like, okay, that's as dumb as you can go. Like, it's not even humanly possible for a person to get dumber than this, to get worse than this. And then a day or two later, J.D. Vance breaks his own record, showing us that he is, in fact, the worst running mate possibly of all time. Like, I am willing to go that far to say that JD Vance.
Oh yeah, consider supporting the show at coldbeer.fund. I can still see the Twitch chat over here. It's just not up on the screen, but I can see you guys until it comes back. It's got to be with the restream, or Twitch is even acting weird. It keeps telling me I'm being disconnected and then reconnected.
The worst running mate in the history of running mates here in the United States. But here's what happened this week. On Wednesday evening, after Governor Tim Walz gave his speech at the DNC, for some reason, CNN decided, well, let's do both sides here. So they invited on JD Vance to speak with Jake Tapper. And JD Vance was asked about Tim Walz's speech. You know, hey, he just gave a speech. He's the guy you're technically up against. What did you think about it? And that is when this absolute
That's true, Shannon.
JD Vance said this.
And he has voted for. I just don't understand a person in American politics in 2024 who's whining about what happened to them instead of using their leadership and using their influence to make the lives of American citizens better.
Right? There's no way.
Trump's whole thing is like, everything's happening to you, I'm going to fix it. And then when he doesn't fix it, everything's happening to him because they want to do it to you, right? Right. They stole the election from me. They cheated. We caught them up. We got it all. We caught them red-handed. They've never. I don't say this. You say this. You guys are covering this. There's never been cheating quite like this.
Unless you have a.
But even his platform, because he's a populist, is the powerful elites and the immigrants are doing something bad to you, and I'm the only person that can stop it. But then when something doesn't go his way, it's because they're coming after him instead of coming after you.
Brainworm, or maybe multiple brainworms, perhaps a brainworm family living in your head, eating at your brain. But there is no way, I believe, that a
Didn't RFK said that he had... RFK says the wildest stories, dude. So RFK said that he was driving one time and he saw a different van, a completely different van, hit a bear cub and kill it. So he picked up the bear cub and put it in his van, even though it was not his van that hit the bear. It's a completely different van. He put it in his van and took it home, and he was going to skin it. But then he remembered he had to be at the airport in a couple hours. So he took the bear cub to Central Park with an old bicycle he had because he thought it would be funny to make it look like a bicycle accident had killed a bear in Central Park. Then he claims that I guess his uncle died of brain cancer. So he says that his doctor, he went to see his doctor and they found a mass on his brain. And because his uncle died of brain cancer, he took it very serious. He saw a few doctors. They all told him that they thought it was a tumor, that it was brain cancer. He was scheduled to go to Duke University to have surgery done by the same doctor that did his uncle's surgery. It was going to be like a big ordeal, whatever. And the day he was supposed to go and report for brain surgery, a separate doctor, the only doctor who hadn't returned his call so far, calls him and says, I don't think you have. Don't go through the surgery. I don't think that you have a brain tumor. And he's like, tell me more. And the doctor says, I think you have a parasitic brain worm that has gotten in and consumed some of your brain, eaten it up. He ate it up and then died. And what we're seeing that looks like brain cancer tumors is actually the dead body of a brain worm that ate your brain, then snuggled up with itself and died. And he had to go get brain worm treatment. That's not even a story I'm making up. It sounds like a story like a child would tell you about their dad. That's his official stance. Is that he thought he had brain cancer, but it turned out to be a brain worm.
Republican can say those words and not know that that is exactly what Donald Trump has done for the last 4 years. Like, there is no way J.D. Vance did not know what he is doing. I think J.D. Vance is stupid, but is he that stupid? Is he genuinely that stupid that he didn't know that he was literally describing Donald Trump? And what's even funnier to me is that if you watch Tim Walz's speech, and everybody online was saying this too, like, they don't even know what J.D. Vance is referring to. Like, why is he whining about what happened to him in the past? Like, what?
I don't think he was whining. I thought he talked in his speech about having to do like IVF treatment and stuff to have a kid. And he's like, that's our success story. They're my miracles. They're my whole life kind of deal. I thought that was the best part of his speech.
That literally didn't happen.
It's definitely the most clips part of his speech, but I don't think he's whining. He's saying like, I want families to have access to this because families that want kids may need this.
So J.D. Vance is trying to attack Tim Walz for something Walz didn't even do, and then it actually applies to Vance's running mate, Donald Trump. Trump still, to this day, he did an interview this week. Well, not an interview, he held a rally this week talking about rigged elections. And for the record, in case you missed it, when he first mentioned rigged elections, Fox News immediately cut away from his speech and didn't go back to it. So this man is still airing his grievances.
Fox News doesn't want another lawsuit, do they?
Almost 4 years ago, instead of using his power and position within the Republican Party to do it.
Let's do this. I feel like people don't believe me. RFK, Bear Cub.
I was taking a group of people falconing up in Goshen, New York, up in the Hudson Valley, and I was supposed to meet them there at like maybe 8 or 9. I was driving up maybe really early, like 7, and then
because they were going falconing. That's where you have a falcon, you pull its hood off, it goes and kills something and brings it back to you and lands back. He was going falconing, so you had to be there early in the morning.
I was supposed to meet them there at like maybe 8 or 9. I was driving up maybe really early, like 7, and
his voice sounds like a bad computer modulation. Like where it's going like up and down in weird pitch. It sounds like a filter you'd put on your voice to be silly.
One in a van in front of me hit a bear and killed it, a young bear. So I pulled over and I picked up the bear and put him in the back of my van because I was going to skin the bear, and it was very good condition, and I was going to put the meat in my refrigerator. And you can do that in New York State. You can get a bear tag for a roadkill bear. And at the end of the dinner, it went late, and I realized I couldn't go home. I had to go to the airport, and the bear was in my car, and I didn't want to leave the bear in the car. Because that would have been bad. But I said, let's go put the bear in Central Park, and we'll make it look like he got hit by the bear. It'll be funny for people. So
I said, let's go put the dead bear that I've been driving around with for a day and a half in Central Park with an old bicycle I have, and it'll look like it was in an accident with a bicycle. What?
Well, everybody thought that's a great idea, so we went and did that, and we thought it would be amusing for whoever found it or something. The New Yorker somehow found out about it, and they're going to do a big article on me, and that's one of the articles. So they asked me, the fact checker said, it's going to be a bad story. I think it's a great story.
This dude's a lunatic. Who the fuck cares if he endorses Trump? Like,
there was an eye-opening headline tonight involving presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. The New York Times reporting on a 2012 deposition during which RFK Jr. said doctors once found a parasite, a dead worm, in his brain. Tonight, what his campaign is now saying about this, and here's Kana Whitworth.
Tonight, new questions about the health of independent presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. after he claimed a doctor discovered a dead worm in his brain. According to the New York Times, Kennedy testified in a 2012 deposition that he experienced memory loss at the time, saying, "I have cognitive problems, clearly." Kennedy said one of the doctors said it could have been caused by a worm that got into my brain and ate a portion of it and then died. Most people.
he never had any surgery at all, and there was no treatments. He was going to have surgery, like, I guess exploratory, maybe even at least a biopsy or something, allegedly. But then one doctor's like, no, I think it's a dead worm. He's like, good with me. I'm good. Yeah.
Into my brain and ate a portion of it and then died.
Most people will have at least some degree of cognitive impairment just because of the inflammation that goes on in the brain when a parasite has made a home for itself there. But there's really varying degrees to how severe that might be.
Kennedy testified he also suffered from mercury poisoning around the same time.
Because he ate a lot of fish, he had mercury poisoning.
Doctors interviewed by ABC News say both conditions could cause a wide range of health problems, but for most people, the impacts are often short-lived.
I eat a lot of tuna, so I worry about when I'm at the office. I like to get those Star Kiss tuna packets that I like the sweet and spicy, but there's ranch flavored and lemon, herb, pepper. I like to eat tuna when I'm at the office because I'm trying to lose weight. And it's just like, it's a lot of protein, I guess. You don't feel hungry, and it's like 90 calories for the whole thing.
The 70-year-old has touted himself as a physically fit alternative to President Biden, 81, and former President Trump, 77, the oldest candidates to ever run for the White House. Even posting videos of himself doing push-ups and skiing with an Olympic gold medalist.
I go hike.
Oh, yeah. He also went, skiing with an Olympic gold medalist. They're like, oh, man, you're on fire. You're so crazy. This is wild. I can't believe you're this young. It was like his hot men that were chasing him, ripping with gold medalist Tora Bright to prove that he's young and that the brainworm didn't affect him. Who knew the future U.S. president was such a ripper? Oh my God, almost an inch and a half of air. Yeah, rich people can ski. We understand. We get it. He's probably been skiing since he was 3. I would expect him to be able to ski. He's a goddamn Kennedy, dude. They can all fucking ski. They can't fly planes, and they're not bulletproof.
Much love. I'm holding us.
I would expect that he can ski. But look how young I am. Hey, guy, you introduce some push-ups out back right now?
Okay, let's go. Let's go.
Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Actually, 0. All those would be 0. None of them had full extension. If you look at where his arm comes to when he's up in the up position, this is not full extension. His arm's still bent 90% of the way. So these are 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. At least that's the way they count them in the military. I'm fat and lazy, and I guarantee I could probably do like arm shaking and in the official rest position, which isn't getting up, it's just holding yourself in the up position. I could probably get out 30. I guarantee I could do 20, 100%. And I'm fat and lazy, don't work out.
That's a fit boy.
What is he doing, dude? This is just TRT.
I'm on an anti-aging protocol from my doctor that includes testosterone replacement, but I don't take any steroids.
Well, that's test, you fucking retard. Test is like the basic fucking steroid, right? Test sips, test prop. You gotta fucking come off of it, right, or you'll grow like bitch tits, but.
What's up, guys? Jeff Cavalier, Athletics.com. So today I'm going to critique Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s training, nutrition, recovery, conditioning, TRT. We're going to talk all about it because, let's face it, guys, he's 70 years old, and regardless of your political beliefs, there might be something here to be found out that could benefit us. So with that said, let's start breaking it down.
I do 4 different routines at the gym. I do backs one day, chest one day, legs, and then a miscellaneous.
So obviously, when you look like RFK Jr., a lot of people are going to want to know, how does he train? And there's his split right there. Now, is it the best split? I've got some feedback on that. Number one, if I were going to do that split, I'd probably break it up. When he talks about back training, it's really hard to work your back without working your arms. But his miscellaneous day actually is comprised of direct bicep, direct tricep work, as well as forearm and calf work too. So he is hitting everything. For those of you that are out there wondering whether or not it's enough frequency, you start to become older. Frequency becomes something you need to be more concerned about.
Trip set.
And there's the alternative method, right? Trading in workout length for intensity. A lot of people sit on a different side of the fence when it comes to training to failure. I happen to be one that's not set. And what that does is it gives you a chance to have a more man weight short right there. But the idea is he's going to be scrutinized. And people are going to look at these things and complain about, let's say, even that curl form there. And even I would. We'll get into that in a second. Or
that is not a curl at all. That's him using his legs and hip thrusters to curl.
But the idea is he's going to be scrutinized. And people are going to look at these things and complain about, let's say, even that curl form there, and even I would. We'll get
Jesus Christ.
Or maybe the fact that he shows up to all of his workouts in jeans. We call those guys job site Joey. The idea is there's more comfortable workout clothing he can wear, and there's probably things he can do to improve some of those specific exercises. So let's improve them. You know, he's got good arms. When you get to the top of the curl, you can see him pulling in. The reason why he's doing that is a natural cheat. The hardest portion of the curl is going to be in that mid-range, and when you're in that position, the further your arms are out away from you, granted that they're still elbows are bent, the biceps are going to feel more of that. So by shortening and pulling in, you're pulling that moment arm a little bit shorter also, and making it easier. So my recommendation here would be just to lighten up those curls a little bit of them, core tighten. It makes it easier, but god darn it. I mean, look at the thing that he's using. That thing is rocking like crazy. Anything any energy leak he's trying to plug here is being betrayed and undermined by the fact that someone put him on the most rickety pull-up bar they've ever seen. It doesn't make this any easier. And as far as range of motion, guys, I am a stickler here. It doesn't matter what number you get if you're short-arming it on the bottom and not getting all the way to the top. And just to get on him and be fair in our competition that we have after the next live, I would say no rep,
Zero.
no rep, no rep, no rep. Because
Zero.
And the most you allow yourself to go full dead arm hang because that's the part that's going to have. It's the sticking point in the exercise. And by limiting it, it's like doing a half bench press and never going down to the chest. You really can't test someone's true strength by doing that. Until I see it stop. We can assess that too. But
I think it's more of a publicity stunt. I mean, sure he works out, but this was all publicity.
His form's actually pretty good here. And before people give him shit for not having a lot of weight on the bar, I referenced before how he likes to go through these giant sets of circuits. This is not the only thing he did. He did something prior to this. I believe he said it was flies. And then he goes into this exercise, and then he goes and he drops down and you'll see with push-ups also. And there's the trainer going and grabbing that bar every rep and celebrating his achievement for spotting him.
TRT is 1000% a fucking, especially like, I don't think they ever just put you at what a normal fucking 70-year-old would have for testosterone, right? They're putting you at the testosterone you had when you're 20. That's 100% performance enhancing.
Not a bad bench press. Again, good form here. Again, the weight I think is dictated by the fact that he can handle more. We know that because here he is training with Mark Bell, talking about a previous rotator cuff injury, and Mark gave him a chance to train with this slingshot. But more importantly, he's got 135 pounds here. Not quite getting down to the chest yet, but he will after a few repetitions. But he winds up handling it for 16 repetitions. So clearly he can handle more. Again, people want to give him, they want to jump to the clips they see in social media to jump all over him. He's stronger than what you think, guys. Again, I would not say that weak is one word that would describe RFK Jr. And of course, his push-ups, again, I mentioned him being in a fatigue state when doing these. These are a little short for me. Again, you want to get the full range of motion, come all the way up. This is what we call the prison yard push-up, right? Where you focus more on the chest by staying in that really low range of motion. And look, he looks great. I mean, I'm not going to get on. Look, whoever wants to start getting on him for his routine, clearly it's working for him. But is it all because of what he's doing in his routine, or maybe is he getting just a little extra help?
I'm on an anti-aging protocol from my doctor. That includes testosterone replacement. And but I don't take any steroids. I don't take any anabolic steroids or anything like that. And the ERT I use is bioidentical to what my body produced.
Yeah, your body at 20 or at 18, not your body at fucking elderly abuse.
What are your thoughts on hormone therapy in general?
I talked to a lot of doctors about that stuff, because I'm interested in health. And, I've heard really good things about it, but I don't know. I'm definitely not an expert on it.
And so now we obviously have to talk about this because when you look at a physique at the age of 70, like RFK Jr., well, the natural questions arise. But in this case, he's not.
It'd be very hard for a 70-year-old to get this type of definition.
Hiding his answers. He's saying, I use an anti-aging protocol and I use testosterone replacement therapy. Now, when I hear anti-aging, I think less about replacement when you're deficient, and I think more about boosting up your levels to sort of prevent the inevitable decline that would happen with age. So I'm not saying that he's going completely super physiologic levels and he's using this in a performance-enhancing way, but if there is no deficit, and let's face it,
he's 100% using this in a performance-enhancing way.
A lot of times, guys, these days, there is no deficit to start with. People are rushing to TRT as a way to amplify their physique.
I don't know if you're a guy and you have Facebook or any of these other, like they advertise TRT to you all the fucking time. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of these places, you just basically tell them you're low or send them a blood sample and they're going to find that you're low and send you as much as you want.
Now, I know he states here that he's not taking steroids specifically. That means he may not be doing tren, clen, or anything else that rhymes with that, but he is using testosterone, which in and of itself is anabolic, especially if you're using it to reach these super physiological levels. Now, do I care that he's doing that? I really don't. I don't care who does. Whatever they do is personal preference. But when people look at him and want to aspire to look like him, especially if they're at the same age, you have to understand in the big picture what's contributing to what he looks like, and then perhaps even temper your expectations.
I do intermittent fasting. I have my first meal at around noon.
Adrenochrome.
And then I try to stop eating at 6 or 7.
So obviously his nutrition is playing a part in him being as lean as he is as well. And it looks good. That being said, intermittent fasting isn't really a diet. It's just a strategy for how you eat. And most of all, I find it to be successful when people have a problem with grazing. Right? They go all day and they like to pick a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit here. They're the same people who say at the end of the day, I don't need anything. But meanwhile, if you total up their calories, they're in a surplus. By doing intermittent fasting and restricting your eating window to, in this case, either 6 hours or 7 hours, you have that period of 17 hours or 18 hours of fasting. This particular strategy, however, is one that I think is worth highlighting because it's the one that allows us to do intermittent fasting and still follow what most would call a socially acceptable eating schedule, right? You skip breakfast in the morning, which a lot of times we're short on time anyway. We don't really have a lot of time to do it. And we resume our eating at 12 o'clock or noon. So we get to have lunch with our coworkers. We get to come home and have dinner with our families. It's the one that's least interruptive. And again, anything that's least interruptive is likely going to allow you to be most consistent with it. And when it comes to nutrition, consistency is king. If you want to lose weight and stay lean, you need to be able to follow the method that allowed you to get there in the first place. For him, this one works, and for you, it might as well.
I take a lot of vitamins. I can't even listen to you here because I couldn't even remember them.
There is never, ever, 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 ever a reason to take vitamins unless you have a deficiency with that vitamin, right? The multivitamin industry is a fucking scam. If you go to your doctor and get blood work done, he's like, hey, your magnesium levels seem to be pretty low. Or if he's like, well, they're not like off the charts, but you know, this is one thing that helps you with like your immuno system or whatever, right? Then you take them. But literally, when you take vitamins you don't need, you piss them out. Your body's not going to absorb them. So I know a lot of people like to take here's one thing that I won't get mad at. If you like to take like a one a day or something, just in case you're low, you're going to piss the extra out. But if you're like, I need this vitamin, this one's for immune health, and this one's to get my colon going, and this one's to do this, and no one's ever told you that you're low on these vitamins or you've never had any symptoms or been checked out by a doctor, you're just wasting your fucking money. If you want to take a one-a-day vitamin, like a men's or a women's one-a-day, just in case I don't get enough iron this week or I don't get enough fucking vitamin D next week, that's fine. But the people who take like an entire pill collection of all the vitamins to help me out, it's just a big waste.
Oh, but I take a ton of vitamins and nutrients.
And so what can I relate to him? Because I take a handful of vitamins and nutrients every morning too, and if I had to list them all out, I definitely couldn't do that just sitting here trying to remember them all. But I do know this, that list has grown decade by decade every year that I get older. And the fact is, our bodies tend to utilize nutrients less efficiently, so supplying them in supplemental form is actually a really important thing for you to do. That being said, a lot of us are afraid to remove vitamins and nutrients as we get older because we don't want to mess with it, right? If it ain't broken, don't fix it. Well, we just keep adding, and oftentimes we don't subtract. But at the end of the day, if you're feeling good, and you've got the money to pay for them, then in this case, why not? But regardless of how he trains, what he eats, or even what he takes, RFK Jr. has actually implemented his approach to fitness into his overall policies. And again, regardless of where you sit politically, I think there's something to be learned here.
You have to be disciplined about it. And that, discipline is important. We're here to build something that's much more enduring than wealth, and that's character. And the way that we build character is by making commitments and then keep them.
And we all know that, guys. If you can stay committed to what you do, you are not just building character, but you're also building confidence in yourself. And one thing I think a lot of us lack these days, probably greatly influenced.
I don't need his hop anymore. Let's go over the cult headquarters. What we got over here? They are passing around a video saying that Tim Walz has a anger problem. We can find the video. Let's see. I'll tell you what I see. I see he has a son who we already know has like a learning disability, nonverbal learning disability. And he's about to walk into this, whatever this is, teleprompter stand or whatever it is, and he's looking down. He saves him from walking into this. That's what's happened. I don't think this is abusive. I don't think he's mad. I don't think he's disciplining him. Like, he's looking down. He's about to walk into this. Now, the daughter's on the far side, and she drops hands with him so she can go around the outside of it. But he's about to walk into this stand. So he pulls him over. Yeah, it's quick, but he just notices he's about to walk into it. So that's a little pull. He pulls him over here, clears that. She grabs hands with him again. This is the best that MAGA's got versus Tim Walz. They're claiming that he's abusive. It's more than just a bad look. It's a sign of weak control and poor judgment. Whether it's anger or excitement, using your kid as a prop in front of camera is just pathetic. We all know he is a piece of shit. Yanking his son's arm like a dog on a leash. Firstly, anyone out there that making fun of Tim Walz's son should unfollow me right now. Secondly, check out this abusive behavior by Tim Walz on his son here. Remarkably disturbing. We can only imagine what happens when the cameras aren't on. Bless this boy. This is what they've got to attack Tim Walz for. I know there's been times where I was with one of my sons and had to snatch them real quick because they were going to walk into a fucking tree or the back of a car or something, and I pull them quick. And I guarantee you, if you just took that section of me like pulling him over towards me and clipped it out, people would do the same fucking thing. Oh, he's abusing him. Look how he pulled his arm. He could have ripped his fucking arm off. So that's the best thing they've currently got. Let's go back to the cult headquarters. This is the moment the Democratic Party officially collapsed. Donald Trump and RFK on stage. History has been made today. I will never forget this moment for as long as I live. Trump just won the election. So let's see. I'm sure there's a speech, right? I like that we can talk about more stuff now. We have more time now. I'm not starting at fucking 1 a.m. Brain worms and pussy grabber.
People, tonight I'm very pleased to welcome a man who has been an incredible champion for so many.
He's been talking about this all week. By the way, I would have lost my bet. I'm not afraid to say that. We were hoping the official endorsement didn't come. If we would have bet, which we didn't, the official endorsement would have come after August 31st. I would have lost my $50. I'm not. I have to have a VPN. I have to put money in crypto. I have to buy USD crypto. I didn't bet, but I thought about it.
Of these
just too many steps
that we all share, and we've shared them for a long time. I don't think too many of you people have heard of him. He's very low key.
Well, my question is, what would you have rather him done? He's one step away from what. Would you rather him let his son walk into that, probably get embarrassed, potentially get hurt, knock it down, and give you guys all this, like, we're already making fun of his son, so you can run around and say, well, Tim Walz' retarded son ran into, like, I would much rather see him pull him and keep him out of danger. And he could have potentially been hurt. I don't know how heavy that stand is. If it's a big C-stand, I've had a C-stand fall on me before, like a C-stand is like a stand you use for filming, and it's got kind of long legs or kind of tall legs, and then one of them's really long, so you can put like a sandbag or something on it to hold like a camera overhead and shit. And sometimes there's some weight with one of those. You could have potentially been hurt. But what would you have him do? He literally just pulled his son out of the way. Rather, you would rather him see the stand and be like, oh, as gently as I can, I'm just going to let him walk into it. He'll learn his lesson.
He's a very low-key person, but he's highly respected. He is a great person. I've known him for so long. For the past 16 months, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is a great person. I've known him for so long. For the past 16 months, Robert F.
I've known him for so long. He's a great person. I've known him for so long. At least I'm not saying this. The media's saying this. You guys say it. I've known him for 16 months. No one has ever known anybody longer. 16 months is so long.
Kennedy Jr.
Shannon, where Twitch chat isn't coming through on my chat board, I can still see it, but where it isn't coming through, you're like the only person I can see in chat right now on the well, you can see it behind me on my head. I like it. Keep up the good work, Shannon and on. There goes my hero, RFK. WWE fireworks.
And he deserves it. He deserves it.
He's clearly wearing them. He's CGI, right? I don't think, one thing that I never realized, I love like newer rock and roll music. And I would sing the songs, I'd memorize the lyrics. I know a bunch of fucking songs and a bunch of shit like Rise Against, Rage Against the Machine, Foo Fighters, shit like that. I never realized that most of the people they're talking about in their songs, a lot of their songs are like political or even immigration and shit like that, or war. They're talking about the Republicans and all of them. Like, there's not this big Republican push against Democrats from the rock and roll community, but I was oblivious to it, just like Trump is apparently oblivious to it. Rage Against the Machine, I fucking love, and literally the machine is the Republicans.
Past 16 months, Bobby has run an extraordinary campaign for President of the United States. I know.
I've known him for 16 months, so long. What the fuck did I just do? So long. Did I lose it? Okay, there it is.
Because he also went after me a couple of times. I didn't like it. And I mean this sincerely. Had he been allowed to enter the Democrat primary, he would have easily beaten Joe Biden, but they wouldn't let him in. They put up rules. I've never seen rules like you had to have 65% of the vote in order to run, you know, little things like that. His candidacy has inspired millions and millions of Americans, raised critical issues that have been too long ignored in this country, and brought together people from across the political spectrum in a positive campaign grounded in the American values of his father, Robert Kennedy, a great man, and his uncle, President John F. Kennedy. And I know that they are looking down right now, and they are very, very proud of Bobby. I'm proud of Bobby. You want to know the truth?
Heartfelt.
And I don't think I've ever introduced
We're very political.
that got applause like he just got. I must tell you, I don't think it's true. I don't think I've ever introduced anybody that got applause like that.
You should go over RFK's dropout speech. I haven't. This is the first we've watched videos on. I just heard about it today.
Amazing. It's true.
I've been watching, I guess, whoever is like in charge of his campaign. I've been watching her go around to podcasts and shit where she complains about Operation Warp Speed and lockdowns and Second Amendment stuff and stuff that Trump did. And they said there's no way they're committing to Trump until he comes out and apologizes for these things. I knew that was a lie. I think Trump is incapable. Trump is 100% incapable of admitting that he was wrong on any of these things. So when she came out and said, oh, well, we're waiting for it, he still never apologized for these things. And that's something that's big. That's something we need to happen. He needs to apologize for Operation Warp Speed, for greenlighting the manufacture of the drugs with no recourse if something happens, you know, if you get hurt or you can't sue them. The lockdowns and shutting down our economy and enforcing people, all that happened on Trump's watch, and he needs to apologize for it. That was never going to happen, ever. Trump will literally blame anybody else. The people he put in place, the people he trusted, the people he hired, the people he gave the power to. He'll blame all of them, but it's never his fault.
Soon after I can't even believe I have to say this, nearly assassinated in Pennsylvania last week.
I'll never talk about it again. It's too hard.
Bobby called me to express his best wishes. He knows firsthand the risks incurred by leaders who stand up to the corrupt political establishment. When you stand up, you bring on some trouble for yourself, but you have to do what's right. You have to do what's right for the country. I will tell you, we are both.
So it's not like RFK is this huge Trump supporter like they're going to pretend he is. He called both campaigns and told them that he would drop out and throw their weight around if given a cabinet position. The Harris-Walz campaign said no. So I'm assuming he's made some type of deal with Trump and he's going to have a cabinet position or something, overseeing something.
Both in this to do what's right for the country. That's one thing I can tell you.
I don't know why. This is from Forbes, and they probably stole it from like ABC or something. I don't know why it's so fucking blurry.
He lost his father and uncle in service to our country, and Bobby himself was subject to repeated threats to his safety during the course of his campaign while being denied protection by the Harris-Biden administration.
That's not true. So after the so typically it's only leading candidates that get the protection, and as soon as the stuff happened with Trump, not only did they offer Trump more protection, even though he had what the Secret Service deemed as an adequate amount, but they reached out to RFK as well and offered him any protection that he needed, within reason, I'm sure.
And this is a tribute in honor of Bobby. I am announcing tonight that upon my election, I will establish a new independent presidential commission on assassination attempts. And they will be tasked with releasing all of the remaining documents pertaining to the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. And they will also conduct a rigorous review of the attack last month.
I'll start a poll.
I tell you, I have never had more people ask me, please, sir, release the documents on the Kennedy assassination. And we're going to do that. And I also want to salute Bobby's decades of work as an advocate for the health of our families and our children. Nobody's done more. Millions and millions of Americans who want clean air, clean water, and a healthy nation have concerns about toxins in our environment and pesticides in our food. That's why today I'm repeating my pledge to establish a panel of top experts working with Bobby to investigate what is causing the decades-long increase in chronic health problems and childhood diseases, including autoimmune disorders, autism, obesity, infertility, and many more. We want every child in America to grow up and to live a long and healthy...
New poll on Twitch says RFK endorsement of Trump, change your vote. Yes, no, who is RFK? Vote now. He should have done those things he was in last time, exactly. Anytime they say anything about Kamala Harris, about why isn't she fixing this, Trump had more access as president to fix any of the things that he could potentially throw at Kamala Harris, right? Like she's the vice president. She's not in charge. She's running to be president and be in charge. She can make suggestions. She can try to do her own thing. She can lobby, which they all do all the time. But anytime Trump says, well, why doesn't she fix it? Why didn't Trump fix it? I could have got those prisoners out without giving anything up. Why didn't you do it when you were in office? RFK drops out, full speech. Let's see what it is. Send it to the experts. Here we go.
I'm sorry to keep everybody waiting. 16 months ago, in April of 2023, I launched my campaign for President of the United States. I began this journey as a Democrat, the party of my father, my uncle, the party which I pledged my own allegiance to long before I was old enough to vote. I attended my first Democratic convention at the age of 6 in 1960. And back then, the Democrats were the champions of the Constitution, of civil rights.
Oh, yeah. They got Trump's secret mixture of stem cells and hydroxychloroquine in the sprayers on the planes now for the chemtrails.
The Democrats stood against authoritarianism.
Does it not sound like a fake voice modulator? Where it goes like up and high and constantly, like when you modulate your voice, like if you were doing like a funny voice or some shit. I used to have one on, but I haven't got it turned on right now. It sounds like a fake fucking voice.
Against censorship, against colonialism, imperialism, and unjust wars. We were the party of labor, of the working class. The Democrats were the party of government transparency and the champion of the environment. Our party was the bulwark against big money interests and corporate power. True to its name, it was the party of democracy. As you know, I left that party in October because it had departed so dramatically from the core values that I grew up with. It had become the party of war, censorship, corruption, big pharma, big tech, big ag, and big money. When it abandoned democracy by canceling the primary to conceal the cognitive decline of the sitting president, I left the...
But you still called and asked for a cabinet position from them. They told you no.
Party to run as an...
Kind of like a shitty ex-girlfriend.
Independent.
Vindictive.
Mainstream of American politics and journalism derided my decision. Conventional wisdom said that it would be impossible even to get on the ballot as an independent because each state poses an insurmountable tangle of arbitrary rules for collecting signatures. I would need over 1 million signatures, something no presidential candidate in history had ever achieved. And then I'd need a team of attorneys and millions of dollars to handle all the legal challenges from the DNC. The naysayers told us that we were climbing a glass version of Mount Impossible. So the first thing I want to tell you is that we proved them wrong. We did it because beneath the radar of mainstream media organs, we inspired a massive independent political movement. More than 100,000 volunteers sprang into action, hopeful that they could reverse our nation's decline. Many worked 10-hour days, sometimes in blizzards and blazing heat. They sacrificed family time, personal...
Okay. I don't give a fuck if he's got a condition or not. It's a weird fucking voice.
...commitments and sleep month after month, energized by a shared...
I didn't think he was doing it as a joke or... You know, he's fucking, I got you guys. Surely there's something that causes it, I would imagine. Still fucking weird.
Vision of a nation healed of its divisions. They set up tables at churches and farmers markets. They canvassed door to door. In Utah and in New Hampshire, volunteers collected signatures in snowstorms, convincing each supporter to stop in the frigid cold, to take off their gloves, and to sign legibly. During a heat wave in Nevada, I met a tall, athletic volunteer who cheerfully told me that he had lost 25 pounds collecting signatures in 117-degree heat. To finance this effort, young Americans donated their lunch money, and senior citizens gave up part of their Social Security checks.
Is that a brag? They donated their lunch money and their Social Security?
Our 50-state organization collected those millions of signatures and more. No presidential campaign in American political history has ever done that. And so I want to thank all of those dedicated volunteers and congratulate the campaign staff who coordinated this enormous logistical feat. Your accomplishments were regarded as impossible. You carried me up that glass mountain. You pulled off a miracle. You achieved what all the pundits said could never be done. You have my deepest gratitude, and I'm never going to forget that. Not just for what you did for my campaign, but for the sacrifices you made.
Oh, yeah, Trump does the same thing. Trump does the same thing, claiming that, when Trump ran, he said he'd finance his entire campaign. When he originally ran, he doesn't need anybody's money, right? He can't be bought. He doesn't need anybody's money. He's independently wealthy. And now he brags about taking the last $10 from a poor person.
Because you love our country. You showed everyone that democracy is still possible here. It continues to survive in the press and in the idealistic human energies that still thrive beneath the canvas of neglect and of official and institutional corruption. Today, I'm here to tell you that I will not allow your efforts to go to waste. I'm here to tell you that I will leverage your tremendous accomplishments to serve the ideals that we share, the ideals of peace, of prosperity, of freedom, of health, all the ideas.
100% he hired a company. It would be incredibly, to get that many signatures in that many different places, you would at least know somebody or a few somebodies who were super excited to go out. Right, and begin signatures. There would be people in your regular life that you'd be like, oh, I know 8 people that were just every fucking day we're out here just pounding the pavement getting signatures.
That motivated my campaign. I'm here today to describe the path forward that you've opened with your commitment and with your hard labors. Now, in an honest system, I believe that I would have won the election. In a system the kind that my father and my uncles thrived in.
By the way, he had to go testify. I think in New York State, he was questioned. I wouldn't say testify. He's questioned if he knew that the people gathering signatures for him were lying about what the signatures were before, were using deceptive measures to get signatures, were not including his name at all when they said, hey, we need your signature for this. They were just saying, hey, will you sign this? Hey, will you sign this? Hey, will you sign this?
A system with open debates, with fair primaries, with regularly scheduled debate, with fair primaries, and with a truly independent media untainted by government propaganda and censorship. In a system.
And that's where we found out that he had a subcontracting company working for him. It wasn't, he likes to say it was just a bunch of Girl Scouts and fucking clergymen or whatever, but it was a subcontractor that was working for him that actually paid and got people and promised or whatever to get volunteers.
Nonpartisan courts and election boards, everything would be different. After all, the polls consistently showed me beating each of the other candidates, both in favorability and also in head-to-head matchups. But I'm sorry to say that while democracy may still be alive at the grassroots, it has become little more than a slogan for our political institutions, for our media, and for our government, and most sadly at all for me, for the Democratic Party. In the name of saving democracy, The Democratic Party set itself to dismantling it, lacking confidence in its candidate, that its candidate could win in a fair election at the voting booth. The DNC waged continual legal warfare against both President Trump and myself. Each time that our volunteers turned in those towering boxes of signatures needed to get...
I don't think he can say anything against either one of the candidates. I don't think he should. He's going to, because he wants Trump to win because Trump promised him a job, right? But when you call both campaigns and say, well, what would you give me if I gave you, then obviously you were fine with either one of them getting elected, right?
And on the ballot, the DNC dragged us into court, state after state, attempting to erase their work. And
J.D. Vance wants to know, why do you keep whining? Why don't you just pull yourself up by your bootstraps and fix it?
To subvert the will of the voters who had signed those petitions. It deployed DNC-aligned judges to throw me and other candidates off the ballot and to throw President Trump in jail. It ran a sham primary that was rigged to prevent any serious challenge to President Biden. Then, when a predictably bungled debate performance precipitated the palace coup against President Biden, the same shadowy DNC operatives appointed his successor, also without an election. They installed a candidate who was so unpopular with voters that she dropped out in 2020 without winning a single delegate. My uncle and my father...
That's how shit happens, right? Biden's ran before. A lot of times you get people that run that have run before and dropped out. How many times have you fucking ran?
Both relished debate.
Or talked about running or...
Prided themselves on their capacity to go toe-to-toe with any opponent in the battle over ideas. They would be astonished to learn of a Democratic Party presidential nominee who, like Vice President Harris, has not appeared in a single interview or an unscripted encounter with voters for 35 days. This is profoundly undemocratic. How are people to choose when they don't know whom they are choosing? And how can this look to the rest of the world? My father and my uncle were always conscious of America's image abroad because of our nation's role as the template for democracy, the role model for democratic processes, and the leader of the free world. Instead of showing us her substance and character, the DNC and its media organs engineered a surge of popularity for Vice President Harris based upon, well, nothing. No policies, no interviews, no debates, only smoke and mirrors and balloons in a highly produced Chicago circus. There in Chicago, a string of Democratic speakers mentioned Donald Trump 147 times just on the first day. Who needs a policy when you have Trump to hate? In contrast, at the RNC convention, President Biden was mentioned only twice in 4 days. I do interviews every day. Many of you have interviewed me. Anybody who asks gets to interview me. Some days I do as many as 10. President Trump, who actually was nominated and won an election, also does interviews daily. How did the Democratic Party choose a candidate that has never done an interview or debate during the entire election cycle? We know the answers. They did it by weaponizing the government agencies. They did it by abandoning democracy. They did it by suing the opposition and disenfranchising American voters. What most alarms me isn't how the Democratic Party conducts its internal affairs or runs its candidates. What alarms me is the resort to censorship and media control and the weaponization of the federal agencies. When a U.S. president colludes with or outright coerces media companies to censor political speech, it's an attack on our most sacred right of free expression, and that's the very right upon which all of our other constitutional rights rest. President Biden mocked Vladimir Putin's 88% landslide in the Russian elections, observing that Putin and his party controlled the Russian press and that Putin prevented serious opponents from appearing on the ballot.
100%. They control the press.
But here in America, the DNC also prevented opponents from appearing on the ballot. And our television networks exposed themselves as Democratic Party organs over the course of more than a year in a campaign where my poll numbers reached at times in the high 20s. The DNC lied mainstream media.
Let's talk about something else. A favorability poll does not directly relate to how someone will vote, right? You could be the most favorable person in the fucking world. That doesn't mean people will make you president.
Media networks maintain a near perfect embargo on interviews with me. During his 10-month presidential campaign in 1992, Ross Perot gave 34 interviews on mainstream networks. In contrast, during the 16 months since I declared, ABC, NBC, CBS, MSNBC, and CNN combined gave only 2 live interviews from me. Those networks instead ran a continuous deluge of hit pieces with inaccurate, often vile, pejoratives and defamatory smears. Some of those same networks and colluded with the DNC to keep me off the debate stage. Representatives of those networks are in this room.
Here's where RFK's real fucking impact has been in the anti-vaccine world.
What do you know about the independent state of Samoa, formerly known as Western Samoa? It's 6,000 miles from the main,
especially in other countries.
It's been a center of Polynesian culture in the South Pacific, as well as an ancestral homeland to the Rock, whose mother hails from that island nation. In late 2019, though, the country was in a public health crisis, not from a new threat like COVID, but from a very old killer of kids that had once been nearly eradicated.
By the way, the poll went 100% no. This doesn't change how I'm going to vote in November.
Measles.
This is the biggest increase in deaths we've seen since records began. The figure of 32 dead is up from 25 only yesterday.
These hospitals aren't designed to deal with this, and I think the minute you're getting hospitals running at 200% and 300% capacity, I think that speaks for itself. It's incredibly serious.
The government of Samoa declared a measles epidemic in October of 2019. Most of the victims were children. In one family, 2 sisters and a brother were killed by the disease. The oldest was just 3. In another family, 2 sisters-in-law both lost sons aged 14 months and 6 months who died just 2 days apart. The mother of the oldest told the UK's Telegraph newspaper, "I saw him every day on the life support machine and I saw him deteriorating. It's very hard to accept and to see my child suffer like that." By December, almost 4,000 cases had been reported in a country of 200,000, roughly the same.
Especially in some of these places where there's not a big push to like clear up misinformation, or government organizations that can afford to get out like grassroots and explain to people the benefits, and people just believe what they see online or believe what they hear or what someone else is spreading.
In population as Des Moines, Iowa. And
I mean, we're not great about it either. We have Q-tards, but it could be worse.
55 people, mostly children under the age of 4, had died. The tiny nation imposed a 2-day national lockdown. Citizens were stuck in their homes to stop the spread. Government volunteers fanned out to help families in need. Anyone in distress was instructed to fly a red banner from their house. The banners were everywhere. As some overseas charities began shipping children's coffins over to Samoa to cover for a local shortage. An international health effort was underway. The Samoan government even asked the US CDC for help. By the time the Samoan government declared an end to the epidemic, 83 people had died. Again, most of them kids. Now remember, we're talking about measles here, a disease that was almost eliminated worldwide thanks to safe, effective, and cheap vaccines. In fact, in 2013, 92% of infants in Samoa were receiving the measles, mumps, rubella, or MMR vaccine around the time they turned a year old. In 2017, though, that was down to 67%. And in the one-year period from 2017 to 2018, it dropped down to about 40%. As the New York Times put it, Samoa was suddenly on a par with some of the poorest countries in Africa. What happened to send the rate so low in 2018 specifically? Well, a growing anti-vaccine movement found a story to rally around. That year, 2 infants died after getting the vaccine. They died because their nurses had made a fatal mistake in administering the shots. They mixed a muscle relaxant into the vaccines instead of sterile water. Those nurses quickly...
So this is medical malpractice, right? They, instead of using a vial of sterile water when they're mixing this vaccine, the same way that you would, drop just about anything with some type of sterile water, They grab the wrong vial, they use a muscle relaxant and basically overdose the children. But that's not what anti-vaxxers dove on.
He confessed their error and pled guilty to manslaughter. But those facts did not matter to Samoan...
That's right, Nightingale.
Instead of telling the truth, they claimed that the vaccine itself was responsible for the deaths. And they got help from a US-based anti-vax group, Children's Health Defense, which took to Facebook to question the safety of the vaccines that those infants received. But again, it wasn't the vaccine. And there was no correction from that US group.
The charity did not update the post to explain the nurses' errors to its audience.
In the wake of those 2 deaths, Samoa's prime minister gave in to the anti-vaxxers and halted the country's measles vaccination drive in 2018 and continued the pause for nearly a year, even after the people of Samoa learned that the...
This is like getting hit by a train in your car while leaving McDonald's, and an anti-McDonald's group jumps off on it and says that Big Macs can cause decapitation and death from blunt force trauma, and then just cramming it down your throat so no one eats at McDonald's. You know what I mean? Like, this is wild.
The nurses and not the vaccine were the reason for those 2 children dying. Samoan health experts urged the government to resume mass vaccination, but they didn't do so until well into the outbreak. The founder of Children's Health Defense, a prominent American anti-vax activist, would later tell a Samoan newspaper that he had the Prime Minister's ear on the issue, and that the island nation's leader had privately shared his doubts about the safety of immunizing the public. That activist, quote unquote, had become something of a celebrity in Samoa. He was honored as a guest of the Prime Minister. He met with local anti-vax activists. Who was this American anti-vaxxer who bragged after the epidemic about his sway with the Samoan leader?
And this should always be his legacy.
Actually,
80-something, they ought to fucking be showing up to his goddamn speeches with child fucking caskets.
He's the reason why I'm telling you all this.
When I am the President of the United States, I am going to end the chronic disease epidemic in this country. ADD, ADHD, speech delay, language delay, tics, Tourette's syndrome, ASD, and autism. This is crippling to the middle class in this country. And we need to figure out what it is.
Sometimes the right misinformation at the right time and not understanding what the fuck you're talking about and still talking can be as deadly as fucking drone strikes or anything else, right? No one else, you wouldn't give a pass if the president ordered a drone strike and killed 83 children because he thought they were terrorists there, right? He legitimately believed there were terrorists there. There would still be people fucking raising hell. But because he's there telling the president not to vaccinate kids and 83 fucking children die in a year of measles outbreaks, that was basically almost eliminated before that. Then people are like, oh, well, you know, he's just asking questions.
Yes, that's Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Yeah, like how many kids can you fit into one kid's casket?
Who's running against Joe Biden for the Democratic presidential nomination. RFK Jr., who heads the anti-vax Children's Health Defense Network, which has since been banned from Facebook and Instagram for spreading misinformation.
Oh, that's big Democrat and big pharma trying to take him down. Banned from Facebook.
RFK Jr., who in June 2019, along with his wife, actress Cheryl Hines, was a special guest of the Samoan Prime Minister at the country's Independence Day celebration. While on that trip, Kennedy also just happened to meet with one of Samoa's most prominent anti-vaxxers, and she posted a pic of them together on Instagram, along with the hashtag #InvestigateBeforeYouVaccinate. It's on that trip that Kennedy would later brag where he spent extensive time with the Samoan leader. Quote, the Prime Minister was a joy to be with. He spent a lot of time with us. We met many health officials. Kennedy told reporters he and the Prime Minister only talked a limited amount about vaccines.
And then the motherfucker runs to Joe Rogan to do the exact same thing on Joe Rogan's podcast, the largest fucking podcast in the world. He has no regrets about any of this.
Vaccines, and mostly discuss whether his charity, the Children's Health Defense, could help improve Samoa's health system. Weeks later, the epidemic of the unvaccinated was underway in Samoa. And as more children...
I'm bald from a vaccine injury.
...children died that November, Kennedy sent the Samoan Prime Minister a letter...
Investigate before you vaccinate.
A letter pressing him to investigate whether...
Or you might alopecia.
Those children died not of measles, but ridiculously of exposure to the measles vaccine. Quote, children who received the live measles virus during Samoa's recent vaccination drive may have shed the virus and inadvertently infected vulnerable.
So their claim is that it wasn't us that got people to not vaccinate their fucking kids at the lowest fucking rate in a century. It was the parents who still vaccinated and their kids shed the vaccine measles and killed those unvaccinated healthy kids.
Children.
My vaccine injury is an 11-inch penis.
He added, it is a regrettable possibility that these children are causalities of Merck's vaccine. He probably meant casualties. Either way, he didn't know what he was talking about. Remember, Kennedy is in Merck's vaccine. Shed the virus and inadvertently infected vulnerable children. He added, it is a regrettable possibility that these children are causalities of Merck's vaccine. He probably meant casualties. Either way, he didn't know what he was talking about. Remember, Kennedy is an environmental lawyer with zero qualifications to talk about vaccines or healthcare of any kind. Actual physicians with actual experience have been quick to debunk RFK's letter, pointing out that there's no evidence for his claim that vaccinated kids...
Zero evidence of any MMR vaccination shedding. Zero. Absolute none. There is no evidence at all. that they shed any type of super fucking measles that kills a bunch of kids. It was literally his misinformation, his support of the misinformation, his being there, his talking to the president that did this.
Shed the measles virus, and noting that even if they had, it couldn't cause an outbreak. It was just as false as those posts by RFK's nonprofit suggesting those 2 Samoan infants, those 2 children had died from the vaccine in 2018, posts that were never retracted or corrected. In fact, we reached out to Kennedy's presidential campaign for comment this week on his vaccine misinformation in Samoa, and they doubled down. This is who RFK Jr. is. This is the brand he's running on.
When people like to say, oh, it's their choice, oh, let them do it, let them do that, that's good to a point. And then they're endangering the life of your kids and your grandkids and your family, right?
He'll deny he's anti-vaccine, and then he'll tell anti-vax crowd.
That's why we have herd immunity. It's fine to a point to say, oh, she's just some crazy lady, let her be crazy if she don't want to get hurt. But then it affects your fucking family.
Falsely, that this is how measles epidemics end.
The thing that cured it was nutrition and clean water, not the vaccine.
Nutrition and clean water do not cure measles.
No, the thing that ended the epidemic was when an emergency vaccine drive got rates back above 90% in Samoa by the end of December 2019. But what does RFK Jr. care? As ignorance, misinformation, and...
So they got back above 90% immunization in an emergency push, where they were like, this is the only thing that could potentially save this and prevent thousands upon thousands of deaths. And he's like, clean water and nutrition. We gave him all multivitamins and TRT.
Conspiracy theories go mainstream and get monetized. This is how he gets on the Joe Rogan podcast and gets anti-vax followers to swarm reputable doctors. And yes, I could tell you about Kennedy's gaffes, like the photoshopped Russian stock image he recently tried to pass off as a campaign ad on Twitter.
Sorry.
I could tell you how even his own family, with the name that he's traded on for years, has blasted his campaign to attack the institutions committed to reducing the tragedy of preventable infectious diseases.
The more you know, the more you know.
Diseases. I can tell you how excited former Trump White House aide and pardoned felon Steve Bannon is about RFK's candidacy and its potential to tilt the 2024 election to Trump. But really, all you need to know about Rob.
This is wild. When we usually vaccinate against these extremely deadly, extremely contagious, extremely bad, or leave you like all fucked up in some sort of way for the rest of your life, even though you get it as a kid. And mutation, right? We already we know shit already mutates, right? The same way that we can't overprescribe antibiotics, and we figured that out, right? Shit mutates. So even if you don't talk about like immunocompromised, like this kid can't have a vaccine because of their immune system, right? They wouldn't be able to fight it off, or even adults. The herd mentality keeps it down to where it's not transferring from person to person to person to person to person, to where it does get some type of mutation, to where it can bypass our vaccine system, and then everybody's acceptable, and then we have another Operation fucking Warp Speed coming out with whatever they've got on the fucking playbook.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr., about his role in our public life, about his contribution to humanity, is encapsulated in the story of the measles epidemic that killed scores of children in Samoa in 2019. An epidemic not just of disease, but of misinformation and vaccine denial, fueled by a politically ambitious Kennedy kid with the ear of that country's leader. A politically ambitious Kennedy kid now challenging Joe Biden for the Democratic presidential nomination. So the next time you see RFK Jr. described just as a vaccine skeptic or a political maverick,
he's just asking questions. What's wrong with asking questions? This is what's wrong with asking questions. When the person asking the questions and giving you the answer is not qualified in any way, shape, or form to be either asking those questions or especially giving the fucking answer, this is what's wrong with it.
remember that does not do justice to who this guy is. There are very horrible, deadly, real-world consequences to his vaccines.
I don't like the pick and choose who we trust, who we don't trust. Like if someone that was out here advocating against child car seats and we saw a fucking 3,000% increase in child deaths in car accidents because they're just fucking buckled up or laying across the back dash, we'd be like, what the fuck is this? This guy is responsible. But because it's the vaccine and big pharma and you can't trust anybody and he's just asking questions, they're like, well, you know, whatever happens, happens. Because it didn't happen to their kids. It didn't happen to a kid in their community. It was in Samoa. So who the fuck can even find that on a map?
Stance. The consequences in Samoa were the needless deaths of more than 80 people, most of them kids. I mean, a mother having to watch her dying child suffer in pain? Does RFK Jr. give a damn? Who knows? But what we do know is that he's a proven public health threat who spreads fear and lies and conspiracies. So some of you watching today may want an alternative to Joe Biden in the Democratic presidential primaries, which is fine. I get it. But RFK Jr. ain't it.
And this should always be his legacy. If you're wondering what it should be, that's it. Oh, that's the one we already watched. Where is the... Here we go.
Right now, and I'll just take a moment to ask you to consider the many ways that your institutions have abdicated this really sacred responsibility, the duty of a free press to safeguard democracy and to challenge always the party in power. Instead of maintaining that posture of fear or skepticism toward authority, your institutions have made themselves government mouthpieces and stenographers for the organs of power. You didn't alone cause the devolution of American democracy, but you could have prevented it. The Democratic Party's censorship of social media was even more of a naked exercise of executive power. This week, a federal judge, Terry Doty, upheld my injunction against President Biden, calling the White House's censorship project, quote, the most egregious violation of the First Amendment in the history of the United States of America. Doty's previous 155-page decision details how just 37 hours after he took the oath of office, swearing to uphold the Constitution, President Biden and his White House opened up a portal and then invited the CIA, the FBI, CISA, which is a censorship agency, it's the center of the censorship industrial complex, DHS, the IRS, and other agencies to censor me and other political dissidents on social media. Even today, users who try to post my campaign videos to Facebook or YouTube get messages that this content violates community standards. 2 days after Judge Doty rendered his decision this week, Facebook was still attaching warning labels to an online petition calling on ABC to include me in the upcoming debate. They said that violates community standards, their community standards. The mainstream media was once the guardian of the First Amendment and democratic principles, and has joined this systemic attack on democracy. It also, the media justifies their censorship on the grounds of combating misinformation, but governments and oppressors don't censor lies. They don't fear lies. They fear the truth, and that's what they censor. And I don't want any of this to sound like a personal complaint, because it's not. For me, it's all part of a journey, and it's a journey that I signed up with. But I need to make these observations because I think they're critical for us doing the thing that we need to do as citizens in a democracy to assess where we are in this country and what our democracy still looks like, and the assumptions about U.S. leadership around the globe. And are we living up? Are we really still a role model for democracy in this country, or have we made it, a kind of a joke? And here's the good news. While mainstream outlets denied me a critical platform, they didn't shut down my ideas, which have especially flourished among young voters and independent voters, thanks to the alternative media. Many months ago, I promised the American people that I would withdraw from the race if I became a spoiler. A spoiler is someone who will alter the outcome of the election but has no chance of winning. In my heart, I no longer believe that I have a realistic path to electoral victory in the face of this relentless, systematic censorship.
You never did.
And media control. So I cannot in good conscience ask my staff and volunteers to keep working their long hours or ask my donors to keep giving when I cannot honestly tell them that I have a real path to the White House. Furthermore, our polling consistently showed that by staying on the ballot in the battleground states, I would likely hand the election over to the Democrats, with whom I disagree on the most existential issues: censorship, war, and chronic disease. I want everyone to know that I am not terminating my campaign. I am simply suspending it and not ending it. My name will remain on the ballot in most states. If you live in a blue state, You can vote for me without harming or helping President Trump or Vice President Harris. In red states, the same will apply. I encourage you to vote for me. And if enough of you do vote for me, and neither of the major party candidates win 270 votes, which is quite possible. In fact, today our polling shows them tying at 269 to 269. And I could conceivably still end up in the White House in a contingent election. But in about 10 battleground states where my presence would be a spoiler, I'm going to remove my name. And I've already started that process and urge voters not to vote for me. It's with a sense of victory and not defeat that I'm suspending my campaign activities. Not only did we do the impossible by collecting 1 million signatures, we changed the national political conversation forever. Chronic disease, free speech, government corruption, breaking our addiction to war have moved to the center of politics. I can say to all who have worked so hard.
I'm tired of people here, and I don't know. Have you guys read the Twitter files? I don't know why people think that the government working with social media platforms, there's nothing in the fucking Twitter files. In fact, some of the most damning shit in the Twitter files was like Twitter changed their policies for hate speech because one of them was one of the policies, like go back where you came from or go back where you belong, was part of their hate speech policies. And because Donald Trump used such similar language to that when he was talking about some Congress women, that they had to change their rules to benefit Donald Trump. Republicans lobbied Twitter. The FBI only put out a warning that said, hey, there could be misinformation coming, just like in 2016. Twitter by itself decided not to run the Hunter Biden laptop story because they don't promote hacked material. That's part of their own terms of service. Like, why do people keep bringing up the Twitter files? Get the fuck out of here with that. Have you read them?
The last year and a half, thank you for a job well done. 3 great causes drove me to enter this race in the first place, primarily. And these are the principal causes that persuaded me to leave the Democratic Party and run as an independent. And now to throw my support to President Trump. The causes were free speech, the war in Ukraine, and the war on our children. I've already described some of my personal experiences and struggles with the government's censorship industrial complex. I want to say a word about the Ukraine war. The military-industrial complex has provided us with
a contingent elections when no one wins 270, right? It's so our election system is based on like first across the gate. Is that what it's called? First one to 270. Contingent election is when no one reaches 270.
Or comic book justification like they do on every war. That this one is a noble effort to stop a supervillain, Vladimir Putin, from invading the Ukraine and then to thwart his Hitler-like march across Europe. In fact, tiny Ukraine is a proxy in a geopolitical struggle initiated by the ambitions of the U.S. neocons for American global hegemony. I'm not excusing Putin for invading Ukraine. He had other options.
First to pass the post. Is that what they say? Hold on. First to pass the post. Yeah, that's what it's called. Voting. That's the first one to hit 270.
But the war is Russia's predictable response to the reckless neocon project of extending.
I don't know where I got gate from.
To encircle Russia, a hostile act. The credulous media rarely explain to Americans that we unilaterally walked away from two.
Right. He wants to preserve democracy by throwing his weight behind the guy that tried to fucking seize power with an angry mob of people for the first time ever.
Intermediate nuclear weapons treaties with Russia, and then put nuclear-ready Aegis missile systems in Romania and Poland. This is a hostile act. And that the Biden White House repeatedly spurned Russia's offer to.
Russia does not want a war with NATO. Russia can't muster the power to defeat Ukraine. Do you think Russia's looking for the fucking smoke with NATO?
Settle this war peacefully. The Ukraine war began in 2014 when U.S. agencies overthrew the democratically elected government of Ukraine.
By the way, everybody was wondering what the Ukrainian forces, their push into, we were talking about this the other day, they have a push into Russian homeland, right? And everybody was wondering why, what their goal was, what they were doing there. It looks like Ryan McBeth covered this better than I ever could. It looks like they've cut off a group of Could Ukrainian drones become landmines if shot down? It looks like they've cut off a group of. Here we go.
I might have just figured out what Ukraine is trying to do in Kursk, or maybe it's incidental. I don't know yet. Let me show you a map. This right here is live UA map, and this right here is the Sem River. And the Sem flows down from Russia and kind of meanders its way all the way into Ukraine. And Ukraine destroyed or damaged 3 bridges over that river. Here, here, and here. The Ukraine incursion is over here, but now there's about 350 miles of Russian territory that essentially can only be supplied by boat or helicopter. I mean, you could do a pontoon bridge, but that's a real nice target. And this area here, that's roughly the size of downtown Las Vegas. So right now, Russia might have...
So they've got an area of about the size of downtown Las Vegas that they could be cutting off from main force supplies, and that might be why they pushed ahead and are holding that territory.
Battalion of conscripts and border guards slowly running out of food and fuel in this area. And they have no way of getting their equipment back.
Sort of. I wouldn't say like he's like a spook, like kinetic, like hands-on. He's pretty open about like he uses technology to track down people that we would drone strike.
Back across that river. And this is your classic dilemmas not problems scenario for Russia. Do you rescue the troops and equipment here or fight the incursion here? I might have just figured out what Ukraine is trying to do in Kursk, or maybe it's incidental.
I just wanted to cover that while my ADHD was kicked in full throttle. So we can go back to this. His voice was getting to me.
Called a hand-picked pro-Western government that launched a deadly civil war against ethnic Russians in Ukraine. In 2019, America walked away from a peace treaty, the Minsk Agreement, that had been negotiated between Russia and Ukraine by European nations. And then in April of 2022, we wanted the war. In April of 2022, President Biden sent Boris Johnson to Ukraine to force President Zelensky to tear up a peace agreement that he and the Russians had already signed, and the Russians were withdrawing troops from Kiev and Donbass and Lugansk. And that peace agreement would have brought peace to the region and would have allowed Donbass and Lugansk to remain part of Ukraine.
Wait, you mean in 2019? Are you telling me in 2019 that we walked away from this, and what do you suppose would have happened? Do you think so? Russia's had a long-standing agreement with Ukraine. Do you think they're going to hold their part of the bargain? Do you think that's what they're doing? Do you think they're going to hold up their part of the bargain? Putin has ran on several times and promised several times that he's going to rebuild the USSR. That's impossible without him seizing back other foreign countries.
President Biden stated that month that his objective in the war was regime change.
By the way, Zelensky made that decision after talking to Trump for the Minsk Agreement.
His Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin simultaneously explained that America's purpose in the war was to exhaust the Russian army, to degrade its capacity to fight anywhere else in the world. These objectives, of course, have nothing to do with what they were telling Americans about protecting Ukraine's sovereignty. Ukraine is a victim in this war, and it's a victim of the West. Since then, of Russia and both Russia and the West. Ukraine has a right to be fucking independent. They already took fucking Crimea, right? They already started putting Wagner Group and infiltrating the Donbass region with Russians who wanted to secede and go back to Russia. Like, they have the right to be an independent, sovereign, fully recognized fucking country. Since then, we have, since tearing up that agreement, forcing Zelensky to tear up the agreement, we've squandered the flower of Ukrainian youth, as many as 600,000 Ukrainian kids and over 100,000 Russian kids, all of whom we should be mourning, have died, and the Ukraine's infrastructure is destroyed.
If you don't remember, back during when Russia was losing the war last time and hard up for people for offensives, they basically put in a general call to arms to where and there were people fleeing the country, including one of them was like a hockey player, blah, blah, blah. the reason they stopped that within like a couple weeks of trying to implement it is because Putin's only in power because he feeds his rich and wealthy friends tons of money. When this general recruitment, this draft, if you will, started affecting the rich and powerful oligarchs, suddenly Putin was again the good press, and he was looking over his shoulder a lot more. If Ukraine can push hard enough to where Russia's only option is to withdraw, or that they're going to have to put in basically a draft, and it's going to affect the children of the oligarchs, somebody will dispose of Putin, or they'll have to pull back and defend their border, and that's all they'll have.
War has been a disaster for our country as well. We squandered nearly $200 billion already, and these are badly needed dollars in our communities, suffering communities all over our country. The Nord Stream pipeline sabotage and the sanctions have destroyed Europe's industrial base, which formed the bulwark of U.S. national security. A strong Germany with a strong industry is a much, much stronger deterrent to Russia.
I think the U.S. says that there's a total of about 500,000 dead. That's a total number. Russia's military casualties, the official said, are approaching 300,000. The number includes 120,000 deaths, 170,000 to 170 to 180 to injured troops. The Russian members dwarf the Ukrainian figures, which the officials put at close to 70,000 killed and 100,000 to 120,000 wounded. He's peddling Russian talking points, basically.
And a Germany that is deindustrialized and turned into just an extension of a U.S. military base. We've pushed Russia into a disastrous alliance with China and Iran. We're closer to the brink of...
Russia already had that alliance with China. I don't know if you've heard about their trade deals and the stuff they got going on already. They already had that alliance with China. We didn't push them anywhere.
Nuclear exchange at any time since 1962. And the neocons in the White House don't seem to care at all. Our moral authority and our economy are in shambles. And the war gave rise to the emergence of BRICS, which now threatens to replace the dollar.
Wrong. BRICS was there before. BRICS has been trying to get off the ground forever.
As the global reserve currency. This is a first-class calamity for our country. Judging by her bellicose, belligerent speech last night in Chicago, we can assume that President Harris will be an enthusiastic advocate for this.
Who he begged for a job. Literally, while he's dogging one party, it is the party that he begged both parties. I'm not going to lie. He called Trump too, right? And said, give me a job, I'll drop out and throw my support behind you. But you can't beg both parties and then say it would be a disaster if Party A wins after you begged Party A for a fucking job and they turned you down. It must not have been that big a fucking disaster while you were begging for a job.
Neocon military adventures. And President Trump says that he will reopen negotiations with President Putin and end the war overnight as soon as he becomes president. This alone would justify my support for his campaign. Last summer, it looked like no candidate was willing to negotiate a quick end to the Ukraine war, to tackle chronic disease epidemic, to protect free speech, our constitutional freedoms, to clean corporate influence out of our government, or to defy the neocons and their agenda of endless military adventurism. But now one of the two candidates has adopted these issues as his own, to the point where he has asked.
So Trump said, I'll take these issues on if you endorse me.
Enlist me in his administration. I'm speaking, of course, of Donald Trump. Less than 2 hours after President Trump narrowly escaped assassination, Callie Means called me on my cell phone. I was then in Las Vegas. Callie is arguably the leading advocate for food safety, for soil regeneration, and for ending the chronic disease epidemic that is destroying America's health and ruining our economy. Callie has exposed the insidious corruption at the FDA, the NIH, the HHS, and the USDA that has caused the epidemic. Callie had been working on and off for my campaign, advising me on those subjects since the beginning. And those subjects have been my primary focus for the last 20 years. I was delighted when Callie told me that day that he had also been advising President Trump. He told me President Trump was anxious to talk to me about chronic disease and other subjects, and to explore avenues of cooperation. He asked if I would take a call from the president. President Trump telephoned me a few minutes later, and I met with him the following day. A few weeks later, I met again with President Trump and his family members and closest advisors in Florida. In a series of long, intense discussions, I was surprised to discover that we are aligned on many key issues. In those meetings, he said...
Oh, surprised. So when you're running against him and saying he has nothing to do with this, he doesn't believe in this, but now you were just surprised, like, oh, well, he's basically running my campaign. Why am I even running?
suggested that we join forces as a unity party. We talked about Abraham Lincoln's team of rivals. That arrangement would allow us to disagree publicly and privately and fiercely, if need be, on issues over which we differ, while working together on the existential issues upon which we are in concordance.
How long do you think it would take for Trump to nick somebody that he gave a job that publicly disagrees with him? Not even like confrontationally, not even to a greater extent, just publicly disagrees with him. We've seen it happen. You cannot disagree with Trump. Oh, he wants me to disagree with him and, you know, raise hell if I have to. That's what he wants. He wants me to raise hell. He wants me to come in here, raise hell, and tell him when he's being a dumbass. Sure.
I was a ferocious critic of many of the policies during his first administration, and there are still issues and approaches.
Wait till he gives you a nickname, and then you find out at work tomorrow you've been fired.
On which we continue to have very serious differences, but we are aligned with each other on other key issues, like ending the forever wars.
Either he's going to shut up and retain power, or he disagrees with Trump publicly, and that's it. Sometimes even privately, Trump is firing people for disagreeing with him.
Ending the childhood disease epidemic, securing the border, protecting freedom of speech, unraveling the corporate capture of our regulatory agencies, getting the U.S. intelligence agencies out of the business of propagandizing and censoring and surveilling Americans, and interfering with our elections. Following my first discussion with President Trump, I tried unsuccessfully to open similar discussions with Vice President Harris.
Yeah, they said they didn't want you. So this disaster, it's going to be World War III and everybody's going to fucking die and there's no way. Like, she just wants to keep going and tempting Russia and that, there's no way that I could ever align with any of these policies. Why didn't you call him and ask him for a job? They publicly put out a statement and said they denied you. They said, hell no, we don't want you.
President Harris declined to meet or even to speak with me. Suspending my candidacy is a heart-rending decision for me, but I'm convinced that it's the best hope for ending the Ukraine war and ending the chronic disease epidemic that is eroding our nation's vitality from the inside, and for finally protecting free speech. I feel a moral obligation to use this opportunity to save millions of American children, above all things. In case some of you don't realize...
He's got his name, and that's about it. He's a fucking lunatic if you dig any deeper. He's basically lived his entire life on his name. That's it, his namesake. And it probably used to be a lot stronger way of him getting jobs and positions and shit like that when it used to be more heartfelt, the Kennedy thing. Now we're raising generations of people who don't even know who the fuck he was, right? But he's running out of that time. He needs somebody to give him power.
How dire the condition is of our children's health and chronic disease in general. I would urge you to view Dr. Carlson's recent interview with Callie Means.
Yeah, they wouldn't even take his call, but that's basically saying, fuck off, we don't want you.
His sister, Dr. Casey Means, who is the top graduate of her class at Stanford Medical School. This is an issue that affects all of us far more directly and urgently than any culture war issue and all the other issues that we obsess on and that are tearing apart our country. This is the most important issue. Therefore, it has the potential. I
would have thought less of them. It's one thing to say, we're bringing him on, but we're going to make sure like he stays in line. We're not doing this anti-vax, anti-bullshit, whatever. It's another thing to be like, oh, yeah, we agree on a lot of stuff. Wink, wink. I would have thought less of the Harris Walls campaign if they would have hand-waved all the issues that RFK has and been like, oh, yeah, he's part of the team now, so we can secure more votes.
To bring us together. So let me share a little bit about why I believe it's so urgent. Today, 2/3, we spend more on healthcare than any country on earth, twice what they pay in Europe. And yet we have the worst health outcomes of any nation in the world. We're about 79th in health outcomes behind Costa Rica, and Nicaragua, and Mongolia, and other countries. Nobody has a chronic disease burden like we have. And during the COVID epidemic, we had the highest body count of any country in the world. We had 16% of the COVID deaths, and we only have 4.2% of the world's population. And CDC says that's because we are the sickest people on earth. We have the highest chronic disease rate on earth. And the average American who died from COVID had 3.8 chronic diseases. So these were people who had immune system collapse, who had mitochondrial dysfunction. And no other country has anything like this. 2/3 of American adults and children suffer from chronic health issues. 50 years ago, that number was less than 1%. So we've gone from 1% to 66%. In America, 74% of Americans are now overweight or obese. And 50% of our children, 120 years ago, when somebody was obese, they were sent to the circus. There were case reports done about them. Obesity was almost unknown. In Japan, childhood obesity rate is 3%. Compared to 50% a year. Half of Americans have prediabetes or type 2 diabetes. When my uncle was president and I was a boy, juvenile diabetes was effectively non-existent. A typical pediatrician would see one case of diabetes during his entire career, a 40 or 50-year career. Today, 1 out of every 3 kids who walks through his office door is diabetic or pre-diabetic, and the mitochondrial disorder that causes diabetes also causing Alzheimer's, which is now classified as diabetes, and it's costing this country more than our military budget every year. There's been an explosion of neurological illnesses that I never saw as a kid: ADD, ADHD, speech delay, language delay, Tourette's syndrome, narcolepsy, ASD, Asperger's, autism. In the year 2000, the autism rate was 1 in 1,500. Now autism rates in kids are 1 in 36, according to CDC nationally. Nobody's talking about this. 1 in every 22 kids in California has autism. And this is a crisis that 77% of our kids are too disabled to serve in the United States military. What is happening to our country? And why isn't this in the headlines every single day? There's nobody else in the world that is experiencing this.
It's a combination of a lot of things, right? We're in contact with more chemicals than we've ever been in our life. Food choices. We have the greatest choice of basically everything, and we have a disposable income to basically spend on everything. Plus a lot better diagnosis, reporting, analysis. I mean, how many kids do you think are actually diagnosed in fucking Guam or Samoa or the Philippines or all these other countries he's claiming that we're behind in, right?
Only happening in America. About 18%. And by the way, you know, there
are doctors that explain the underlying causes for all these things, and yeah, there's stuff that we can improve for sure. There's also things that we could improve at the cost of freedom. Are we okay with telling you what you can do with your kids now? Are we not doing that, or are we doing it because everybody gets confused when we start talking about drag queen story time? And they shouldn't be allowed, and parents shouldn't be allowed to take their kids there. But then they can't tell me what to do with my kids if I feed them a bag of Doritos and 4 Mountain Dews for breakfast. So which one are we doing here?
No change in diagnosis, which the industry sometimes like to say. There has been no change in screening. This is a change in incidence. In my generation, 70-year-old men, the autism rates are about 1 in 10,000. In my kids' generation, 1 in 34. I'll repeat, in California, 1 in 22. Why are we letting this happen? Why are we allowing this to happen to our children? These are the most precious assets that we have in this country. How can we let this happen to them? About 18% of American teens now have fatty liver disease. That's like 1 out of every 5. That disease, when I was a kid, only affected late-stage alcoholics who were elderly. Cancer rates are skyrocketing.
Can you just imagine how much the autism, or just think about how much the autism spectrum has grown since when RFK was a kid, right? What was autism at the time? What is autism now? Oh, there hasn't been any change in testing. Yes, there has. And identifying and what causes it and what's on the spectrum, what isn't on the spectrum.
Young and the old, young adult cancers are up 79%. 1 in 4 American women is on antidepressant medication. 40% of teens have a mental health diagnosis, and 15% of high schoolers are on Adderall, and 500,000 children on SSRIs. So what's causing this suffering? I'll name 2 culprits. The first and the worst is ultra-processed food. About 70% of American children's diet is ultra-processed. That means industrial manufactured in a factory.
Researchers suspect that the rising rates of autism can be attributed in part to the growing awareness and advocacy of for autism and of autism. It's possible that autism has always been a common condition, that we're just beginning to capture the true prevalence due to better screening efforts, said Dr. Peter J. Chung, a developmental behavioral pediatrician and medical director of the Center for Autism and Neurodevelopment Disorders at the University of California, Irvine. On the other hand, some researchers suspect that certain environmental factors are contributing to the growth rates of autism. Experts vary on their opinions regarding this phenomenon, but I personally believe it is probably a little bit of both. Historically, rates of autism have been lower in non-white children. However, this report is the first to find that rates of autism in Black and Hispanic children have exceeded rates of autism in white children. Chung said rates of autism in Black and Hispanic kids have grown as more communities have worked to address racial and ethnic disparities in the autism diagnosis. It is possible that these efforts in increasing screenings and access to referrals has resulted in a more non-white children getting evaluated. I can remember when I was a kid, relatives that clearly had some type of mental health disorder and just being told, oh, they're different, right? Oh, they got something loose in their head or like crazy shit like that, undiagnosed, clearly undiagnosed. Don't go to a fucking doctor. They're just crazy people walking around. We diagnose these things now.
These foods consist primarily of processed sugar, ultra-processed grains.
Many factors are known to increase the likelihood of autism, like premature birth, low birth weight. Other factors, exposure to air pollution, maternal stress, may also play a role. It may be that Black and Hispanic children have greater exposure to those factors, maybe. Though it is widely believed that autism is a neurobiological disorder, it's unclear if genetics play a role. Autism rates varied per state depending on screening efforts. Autism rates, and this right here tells you it has a lot to do with screening. Autism rates varied significantly across 11 states, including in the analysis, which the researchers believe can be attributed to the state differences in how autism is screened and treated. So if this was true, if we had this pandemic and it was something we were doing to the kids, seems like it'd be across the board. No, it has to do with the screening. Autism prevalence in 8-year-old kids range from 23.1 per thousand, 2.3% children in Maryland, to 44.9 per thousand in California. Now, California probably has the most rigorous testing, screening, and everything else, right? Maybe it's even over-diagnosing. In 4-year-olds, prevalence range from 1.3 in Utah to 4.6 in California. Certain states like California have programs in place to better identify and treat children who are suspected of having autism. The increased emphasis in early screening is likely contributing to the rise in prevalence as these children are identified earlier, intending to provide treatment and support as soon as possible, according to Chung. Data consistently shows that early intervention for children with autism leads to the best possible outcomes in cognition, language, and behavior. All pediatricians are encouraged to screen for autism at each child's 18th and 20-month checkups. The CDC findings highlight the importance of high-quality surveillance, screening, and intervention efforts for the pediatric population, Chung said. The increase in autism diagnosis speaks to the need for more training and resources for professionals involved in identifying, diagnosing, and caring for autistic individuals and their families so we can provide treatment and support as early as possible.
Laboratory scientists who many of them formerly worked for the cigarette industry, which purchased all the big food companies in the 1970s and 80s, deployed thousands of scientists to figure out chemicals, new chemicals, to make the food more addictive. And these ingredients didn't exist 100 years ago. Humans aren't biologically adapted to eat them. Hundreds of these chemicals are now banned in Europe, but ubiquitous in America.
I'm reading a article about a paper that came out from the the CDC, and it is in healthline.com. From the Healthline website, they're going over the CDC study. The bottom line, more children than ever before are diagnosed with autism. Additionally, Black and Hispanic children are being diagnosed with autism at higher rates than white children, according to new data from the CDC. The increased prevalence of autism can be attributed in part to greater awareness and advocacy for autism. Some researchers believe environmental factors like exposure to air pollution and maternal stress are contributing to the rising rates. But more research is needed to understand why autism rates continue to rise.
American processed foods. The second culprit is toxic chemicals in our food, in our medicine, and in our environment. Pesticides, food additives, pharmaceutical drugs, and toxic waste permeate every cell of our bodies. The assault on our children's cells and hormones is unrelenting. To name just one problem, many of these chemicals...
That's my number one fear, chat. Microplastics. They're fucking everywhere.
...increase estrogen. Because young children are ingesting so many of these hormone disruptors. America's puberty rate is now occurring at age 10 to 13, which is 6 years earlier.
Is there a tear on his cheek? Is he crying?
Then girls were...
What is going on here?
Our country has the earliest puberty rates of any continent on the earth. And no, this isn't because of better nutrition. This is not normal. Breast cancer is also estrogen driven, and it now strikes 1 in 8 women. We are mass poisoning all of our children and our adults. Considering the grievous human cause of this tragic epidemic of chronic disease, it seems almost crass to mention the damage it does to our economy. But I'll say, it is...
I could imagine a Trump endorsement would make you cry a little.
...the nation's finances. When my uncle was president, our country spent $0 on chronic disease. Today, government healthcare spending is almost all for chronic disease.
I wonder if he got that brainworm from that dead bear.
It's double the military budget. And it is the fastest growing budget item in the federal budget. And chronic disease costs more to the economy as a whole, costs at least $4 trillion, 5 times our military budget. And that's a 20% drag on everything we do and everything.
I just don't see an environmental lawyer.
Communities suffer disproportionately.
I just don't see an environmental lawyer coming in and being the bastion of saving the world when we already have our top science. Like if someone came up for a fucking a cure for heart disease, they would be multi-fucking billionaires, right? That's the number one leading cause of death. But this guy's going to come in and be like, all right, fix it now, scientists. Get a fucking beaker out and a stool, and we're staying here until you fix it.
Worry about DEI or about bigotry of any kind. This dwarfs anything. We are poisoning the poor. We are systematically poisoning minorities across this country. Industry lobbyists have made sure that most of the food stamp lunch program, about 70% of food stamps and about 70 or 77% of school lunches are processed foods. There's no vegetables. There's nothing that you would want to eat.
That's literally not true. Of course you get vegetables on food stamps. It's literally cash that you could spend on anything that's food.
We are just poisoning the poor citizens, and that's why they have the highest chronic disease burden of any demographic in our country, and the highest in the world. The same food industry lobbied to make sure that nearly all agricultural subsidies go to commodity crops that are the feedstock of processed food industry. These policies are destroying small farms, and they're destroying our soils. We give about, I think, 8 times as much in subsidies to tobacco than we do to fruits and vegetables. It makes no sense. We want a healthy country. The good news is that we can change all this. And we can change it very, very quickly. America can get healthy again. To do that, we need to do 3 things. First, we need to root out the corruption in our health agencies. Second, we need to change incentives.
We have farm stands here that take food stamps. That's cool. I don't know if we have that or not. Very rarely, we don't get food stamps, but I very rarely stop. When ramps are in season, I usually go buy ramp. You guys know what ramps are? They're like a wild onion. God, I love fucking, like, they take ramps. They're kind of like leeks or something, I guess. But they take ramps and cut them up and put them in with, I guess, like, not cubed, but like little sliced potatoes, and fry them in a cast iron skillet with some oil. God damn, it's good.
In our healthcare system. And third, we need to inspire Americans to get healthy again. 80% of NIH grants go to people who have conflicts of interest. These are the people, virtually everybody who sits, Joe Biden just appointed a new panel to NIH to decide the food recommendations, and they're all people who are from the industry. They're all people who are from the processed food companies. And they're deciding what Americans, here is healthy, and the recommendations on the food pyramid, and what goes to our school lunch programs, what go to the program, the Swiss program, the food stamp programs. They're all corrupted.
After driving into the lake,
the FDA, USDA, and CDC, all of them are controlled by giant for-profit corporations. 75% of the FDA's funding doesn't come from taxpayer; it comes from pharma. And pharma executives and consultants and lobbyists cycle in and out of these agencies with President Trump's backing. I'm going to change that. We're going to staff these agencies with honest scientists and doctors who are free from industry funding. We're going to make sure the decisions of consumers.
Or maybe I should look up what ramps are. It's a bulbous, perennial, flowering plant, North American species of wild onion or garlic found in the. It kind of does have like some garlic to it. It's a good taste, but there's such a short season, and they don't like store very well. I guess that's probably why they don't like industrial farm them. Like you got like a couple weeks to get like fresh ramps, and that's it. You got to cook them, and God, they're so good. I used to buy them when I would see the signs up, like ramps available or whatever. I'd go buy them and drop them off at my mom's house, and she would cook them for me.
Doctors and patients are informed by unbiased science. A sick child is the best thing for the pharmaceutical industry. When American children or adults get sick with a chronic condition, they're put on medication for their entire life. Imagine what will happen when Medicare starts paying for Ozempic, which costs $1,500 a month, and it's being recommended for children as young as 6, all for condition obesity that is completely preventable and barely even existed 100 years ago. Since 74% of Americans are obese, the cost if all of them took their Ozempic prescription is $3 trillion a year. This
you think that everybody's going? Okay.
Is a drug that is made by Novo Nordisk. The biggest company in Europe is a Danish company, and the Danish government does not recommend it. It recommends change in diet to treat obesity and exercise. And in our country, the recommendation now is for Ozempic to children at age 6. Novo Nordisk is the biggest company in Europe, and virtually its entire value is based upon its projections of what it's going to sell, of the Ozempic it's going to sell to America. And we have the food lobbyists have a bill in front of Congress today that is backed by the White House, backed by Vice President Harris and President Biden, to allow this to happen. This $3 trillion cost that is going to bankrupt our country. For a fraction of that amount, we could buy organic food for every American family, 3 meals a day, and eliminate diabetes altogether. We're going to bring healthy food back to school lunches. We're going to stop subsidizing the worst foods with our agricultural subsidies. We're going to get toxic chemicals out of our food. We're going to reform the entire food system. And for that, we need new leadership in Washington. Because unfortunately, both the Democrats and the Republican parties are in cahoots with the big food producers, Big Pharma and Big Ag, which are among the DNC's major donors. Vice President Harris has expressed no interest in addressing this issue. 4 more years of Democratic rule will complete the consolidation of corporate and neocon power, and our children will be the ones who suffer most. I got involved with chronic disease 20 years ago, not because I chose to or wanted to. It was essentially thrust upon me. It was an issue that should have been central to the environmental movement. I was a central leader at that time, but it was widely ignored by all the institutions, including the NGOs, who should have been protecting our kids against toxins. It was an orphan issue, and I had a weakness for orphans. I watched generations of children.
Ooh, Foo Fighters on Twitter. Wu-Tang Clan, or Wu-Tang is for the children, from Wu-Tang Kid, says, hey, at Foo Fighters, did you let Trump use My Hero to welcome RFK Jr. on stage? Foo Fighters says no. And then they share that tweet and says, let us be absolutely clear. Damn. Damn. I think Trump has a habit of that. There's been a couple bands that have asked him to stop using his music.
Children get sicker and sicker. I had 11 siblings, and I had 7 kids myself. I was conscious of what was happening in their classrooms and to their friends, and I watched these sick kids, these damaged kids.
Haven't half your siblings died tragically?
In that generation, almost all of them are damaged. And nobody in power seemed to care or to even notice. For 19 years, I prayed every morning that God would put me in a position to end this calamity. The chronic disease crisis was one of the primary reasons for my running for president, along with ending censorship in the Ukraine war. It's the reason I've made the heart-wrenching decision to suspend my campaign and to support President Trump. This decision is agonizing for me because of the difficulties it causes my wife and my children and my friends. But I have the certainty that this is what I'm meant to do. And that certainty gives me internal peace, even in storms. If I'm given the chance to fix the chronic disease crisis and reform our food production, I promise that within 2 years, we will watch chronic disease burden lift dramatically. We will make Americans healthy.
Within 2 years.
Within 4 years, America will be a healthy country.
4 years, healthy country.
More optimistic and happier. I won't fail in doing this. Ultimately, the future, however it happens, is in God's hands and in the hands of the American voters and those of President Trump. If President Trump is elected and honors his word, the vast burden of chronic disease that now demoralizes and bankrupts the country will disappear. This is a spiritual journey for me. I reached my decision through deep prayer, through hard-nosed logic, and I asked myself, what choices must I make to maximize my chances to save America's children and restore national health? I felt that if I refused this opportunity, I would not be able to look myself in the mirror, knowing that I could have saved lives of countless children and reversed this country's chronic disease epidemic. I'm 70 years old. I may have a decade to be effective. I can't imagine that President Harris would allow me or anyone to solve these dire problems. After 8 years of President Harris, any opportunity for me to fix the problem will be out of...
It's on his name. That's exactly why he went to Harvard.
President Trump has told me that he wants this to be his legacy. I'm choosing to believe that this time he will follow through. His son, his biggest donors, his closest friends, and all support this objective. My joining the Trump campaign will be a difficult sacrifice for my wife and children, but worthwhile if there's even a small chance of saving these kids. Ultimately, the only thing that will save our country and our children is if we choose to love our kids more than we hate each other. That's why I launched my campaign to unify America. My dad and uncle made such an enduring mark on the character of our nation, not so much because of any particular policies that they promoted, but because they were able to inspire profound...
He's hard to listen to this long, dude.
Our sense of ourselves as a national community held together by ideals. They were able to put their love into the intentions and hearts of ordinary Americans and to unify a national populist movement of Americans, blacks and whites, Hispanics, urban and rural Americans. They inspired affection and love and high hopes and a culture of kindness that continue to radiate among Americans from their memory. That's the spirit on which I ran my campaign and that I intend to bring into the campaign of President Trump. Instead of vitriol and polarization, I will appeal to the values that unite us, the goals that we could achieve if only we weren't at each other's throats. The most unifying theme for all Americans is that we all love our children. If we all unite around that issue now, we can finally give them the protection, the health, and the future that they deserve. Thank you all very much.
There you go. Throwing his weight behind Trump, and that's what we see, so... It is what it is, guys, I guess. I don't know what to say. I mean, he was a lunatic before. He's a lunatic now. So there you go. What else do we say about it at this point? All right, guys. We got what is that? We got a little over 3 hours in on this stream. Started a little bit earlier than we could. I'm going to hop off here. You guys want to go over and watch, want something to watch? I can raid you guys over to a stream. I just saw Peace Goes on a stream. So I'm going to set up a raid. Guys, consider supporting the show. Coldbeer.fund. Help us out. Help us pay for the bills. I'm going to shoot you guys over to a stream that Peace Goes on right now. It's from the Silly Serious. So I'll raid you all over there. If you want to stay on Twitch, it'll just take you to that video. But yeah, thank you guys for joining us. Thanks for being here. I'll be back tomorrow night. And yeah, we'll hop off here. Let me see if I can find it. Peaceco is the lawyer friend of Destiny. He's a pretty good debater. So we're going to send some people over there. If you want to check it out and watch it, stick around. If not, I'll see you guys on the next one. Everybody had a good night, and I'll be back tomorrow. So thank you guys for joining us. Support the show. We'll see y'all later, and have a good night. Let them know CBC sent you if you stick around. So we'll see you on the next one. Have a good night, guys. Love you. See you. Bye.
But I can tell you this about if this douchebag happens to see this particular show, you don't have the fork and balls to call out the people on this planet by name and tell them exactly who they are and tell them the rest of the world who they are. You don't have the fork and balls. You don't have.
See you guys.
Okay, Scott.
Here we go, I think I started some shit. Listen off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. And they say that I'm a lunatic. Well listen bitch, I came equipped with a quick wit and a 6 cents for the stupid shit. Where my true believer? Y'all need Jesus. Praise the Lord, head to the extreme. All these false fucking prophets who profit off of gossip. Worshipping drums, cocking, begging for a throat deposit. Swinging fucking meat hammers like four in a thong. He's strapped to the shaft, eating his chest like he's King Kong. Starving for attention, I'ma make your gut burst. I'll be your huckleberry, I can quench that thirst. Baby eating lizard people, alien sex. What's next? Trump in a dress, fucking Flynn on his desk. A retard in a vest, climbing up 5G towers. Cause you told him if he did, he'd get fucking superpowers. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. I used to find clues too when I was high on shrooms. I found myself a tunnel that led to Jason Q's bedroom. Open his closet, I found some of his meat rockets. I strapped them to my shoes and then I flew through the roof. I found myself in orbit strapped to an F-16. High on amphetamine with Trump in between. Put on a light coat of baby oil and saluted the troops. He tapped me on the shoulder and said, "This is gonna be it." Wait. Stop. What? I'll get my files. Wait, what are you doing? Stop. Hold on. Fucking stop.